Hello, everybody. Here we go. Oh, I haven't updated the grid. We'll try. The classic. Forgot to update the grid just before we started. There it is. Our grid for today, ladies and gentlemen. We're half an hour or so away from the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's looking a little bit tasty, if you ask me. We've got lots of people out of position in terms of sort of their championship standings or where you'd expect them to be. I think Gasly's done an exceptional job to get a little bit higher up than you think. Thought Ricardo had a bit of a rubbish weekend or a rubbish qualifying yesterday. He's a little bit out of position as to where I expected him to be. Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, also I'd say a little bit out of position of where you sort of expect them to be in terms of where they are on the grid. But let's have a quick run through it then as the cars are coming around and getting set up. As I said, we're about half an hour away or so from the start of the race. We've got Hamilton on pole position. A little bit of controversy. I don't personally think it was that controversial. Now that I've watched it back, I think he did exactly what everybody else in front of him did, to be honest with you. It's just that the TV cameras are always on Lewis Hamilton. So he is sort of held to a bit of a weird standard compared to everybody else, isn't he, Lewis Hamilton? But he managed to come home in pole position, setting the fastest lap. Actually, not his last lap, his second to last flying lap set him on pole position. Hello, Sally. Welcome back. Welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix, where it is windy. That is the update in terms of the weather that we've got so far. Just very, very windy. Valtteri Bottas came home in second yesterday. He qualified the first Mercedes 1-2 we've had this season since Portugal, by the way. Like we just sort of expect a Mercedes 1-2 at this point in F1, especially over the last few seasons or so. But the first 1-2 that Mercedes have managed to get in the last, 6 races since Portugal. So it's been a little while in terms of Mercedes locking out that front row. The second row is our Red Bull drivers, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Perez actually missing out on being able to set a lap time at the end of Q3. I don't think he was very happy about it, but it was one of those things. Red Bull sent him out last of all of those 10 drivers, and it didn't play into his favour, did it? He ended up not being able to set a time, a little bit like Vettel in Silverstone, just didn't quite get across the line in time. Gasly with an exceptional performance. Gasly, by the way, coming home in 5th in an AlphaTauri. Like Yuki Tsunoda all the way down there in 16th. Couldn't even get the car home in Q1 through into Q2. And Gasly all the way up in 5th. I know that Gasly had a poor race in Silverstone, and I was expecting him to come back with a little bit of bite, but my goodness, has he come back with a hefty bite indeed, getting himself even in front of the McLarens and both Ferraris. Jesus Christ. Gasly is getting absolutely everything out of that AlphaTauri and making it count when he needs to, especially in a track where there isn't a lot of overtaking opportunities. Being up in 5th is exceptionally good form from Gasly. Lando Norris in 6th. I think he'd be fairly happy with that, I think top 5 would have been what he was aiming for, getting in front of Gasly. But 6th place is not too bad overall. And Norris, wants to end the season and end the first half of the season on a little bit of a high note. And I think this is the way to go about it, obviously. Getting into 6th place, hopefully a good solid points finish, maybe keeping himself 3rd in the championship if he can manage to get up towards the podium positions, or close enough to Perez and Bottas that he's able to do so. He might lose out on that 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship, but I think he'll be overall very, very happy indeed with how this first half of the season has gone for Lando Norris, especially considering lots of people were saying that Daniel Ricciardo would come into the team, be a bit of a force, maybe take over as the number 1 driver in McLaren. And Lando Norris has said, no, definitely not. I'm going to be the number 1 driver at McLaren now that Carlos Sainz has moved on. We've got Charles Leclerc in 7th. I don't really know how I feel about Ferrari. I think that's pretty good from Charles Leclerc. Do I think he could have got a little bit higher? No. Do I expect him to stay there in the race? Probably. I think it's going to be a bit of a non-race for Ferrari. I don't know if they're going to be able to maybe he can sort of get on and amongst it with Norris and Gasly down into turn 1 and maybe in the pit stops. But I just can't see them having the race pace to be able to actually overtake any of those guys very cleanly. That's why I'm a little bit worried about Carlos Sainz, if I'm honest with you. Ocon and Alonso, both Alpines doing the business, getting themselves into the top 10. And Ocon just looks a new man since the chassis change in Silverstone. Just looks completely different behind the Alpine car. Looks so much happier with the car itself. And Ocon actually outperforming Alonso for the first time in what feels like a long time. And let's see if he can also finish in front of Alonso and maybe, narrow that gap between the two of them in the Drivers' Championship and put himself in and amongst those drivers in front of him. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed that he's had such a dip in form over the last 4 or 5 races. But, there's enough season left where Ocon can really push on and maybe get back into contention with Alonso and really fight for that sort of first place of the 2 Alpine drivers. Vettel was rounded out the top 10, our last driver that made it into Q3 yesterday. Pretty good drive from Vettel overall, not too bad. I don't think he could have done too much better. The Alpines looked really, really quick, to be honest with you. I think he'll be very happy that he managed to outperform a McLaren and a Ferrari, even if the Ferrari did put itself in the wall. Still got to take those wins when you get them. And Vettel again, Silverstone just really didn't go his way, spun out and then had to retire towards the end. So he'll be looking to bounce back a little bit from Silverstone and maybe get a point on the board in this race. He hasn't scored points in a little while now. I know that Aston Martin, on the teetering on the edge of getting points every weekend. They're not really, in my opinion, expected to get points every single weekend. But Vettel will want to round out this first half of the season with a points finish, maybe edge towards Gasly. I don't think that's going to be possible unless Gasly has a really poor race. But Vettel is going to, want to consolidate himself as that sort of midfield driver, one of the better midfield drivers of those guys that are battling it out sort of down in 9th, 10th, 11th in the Drivers' Championship. Then we get to the guys who came out in Q2. Daniel Ricciardo, really, really frustrating for him. Just could not seem to get it right. Made a mistake through the chicane, and that just cost him so much time. And he wasn't able to get into that top 10. Winter is coming, rain is coming. Oh, I really hope so. I really do hope so. That would definitely add a little bit of spice to the race. Yesterday, it was just blisteringly hot during qualifying and a little bit windy. Today, it's supposedly even more windy. There are grey skies at the Hungary ring. Whether there is rain expected, I'm not quite sure, but I'd absolutely love some rain if we could get it. Where was I? Daniel Ricciardo, yeah, very upsetting for him yesterday in 11th place. Not going to be happy with that. And again, he's one of those drivers that is looking for consistently picking up points over the course of the next half of the season. Maybe, is one of those drivers that needs the summer break. It really just hasn't come to fruition for Daniel Ricciardo, has it? It's come in fits and starts for him. He's never really been able to get a proper run of races going where he's continually getting the form together and, picking up consistent points in that McLaren. And he's got to be a bit frustrated seeing Lando Norris picking up 4th, 5th, 6th, even podiums over the course of this first half of the season. Ricciardo hasn't been able to really get near that, apart from the occasional race here or there. So let's see what Daniel Ricciardo can do from 11th. As I said, not a lot of overtaking opportunities here, but he is in a much faster car than the guys in front of him, you could argue, considering how much Norris is able to get out of that McLaren usually. I've been watching all your videos. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There will be more videos coming, a lot more videos over the course, obviously, over the summer break, because we won't have these live streams taking up my time. And I'll obviously be able to get out a little bit more scripted content. But I do absolutely love doing these live streams too. So it's a little bit of a shame that we've got the summer break. I'm looking forward to coming back even bigger and better after the summer break and being able to put something down as a proper... It looks like one-man band with all that gear on. Yeah, that is fair. Here we go. Stroll was in 12th. Again, not a terrible performance from the Aston Martin. I think he'll be fairly happy with 12th. It maybe have wanted to get into the top 10. He's seen Vettel get into the top 10 in front of him, and Stroll would have been looking to match Vettel, if not push it a little bit faster. Stroll, fairly happy with 12th, and we'll see if he gets any points today. I think that is the objective for those guys, isn't it? Vettel, Stroll, Ricciardo, Alonso, Ocon, possibly even Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, you could argue. Getting into the points for them is just a good race, because, they are the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, so on, fastest cars out there. They're not really looking at the top 8. So when there's only 2 real points positions up for grabs, if everybody finishes where you'd expect them to finish, it's tricky for those midfield cars. They're picking up 1 or 2 points every weekend, and they just need to get those 1 or 2 points in, because they really will make the difference coming towards the second half of the season. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi managed to get themselves into Q2. Raikkonen actually outperforming Giovinazzi for what feels like the first time in forever. Giovinazzi seems to be the one that just always puts it together in qualifying, and then Raikkonen puts it together in the race. And they've sort of flipped. Maybe this time Giovinazzi will be the one that puts it together in the race. Obviously, both of them on 1 point. So very, very difficult to see who's going to come out on top of the Alfa Romeos there. Obviously, Raikkonen just in front in terms of form. But if Giovinazzi can pick up just 1 more, 2 more points, I think that will be a real decisive factor. I can't see them picking up many points over the course of the season. Obviously, we're halfway through and they've only picked up 1 apiece. So that 1 extra point, if they can pick it up today, could be season defining for those guys. Carlos Sainz in 15th, though. Let's talk about the Ferrari. Really unfortunate. I've watched back the clip, actually, because I was a little bit confused as to what would happen. I thought he made a mistake, maybe, or got on the power a little bit too early. I was a little bit confused at what happened to Carlos Sainz, and it looks like it was actually just really windy, and he got very, very unlucky with the wind moving in the direction that just put the car completely out of balance into that final corner and made it spin around. Unfortunate for him. Really, really unfortunate, because Carlos Sainz, I thought personally was going to have a good weekend from my predictions, which we'll have a look at in a second. I'm not sure Carlos Sainz is going to... I don't know. It's going to be tricky for him to get up into the points. He's going to need a good strategy. He's going to need something to go his way, because there's a lot of tough cars out there in front of him. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities that don't come around too often at the Hungary ring, which he'll need to take. So it's going to be tricky for him. Similar for Tsunoda. I think Tsunoda will be looking forward, but will Tsunoda get up into the points? I'm not sure. I don't think so, personally. Again, there's not many racing opportunities here. There's not many overtaking opportunities at the Hungary ring, and it's tricky to get past people around here. So Yuki Tsunoda will need absolutely everything in his power to get up towards the points if he is going to make it there. Then we had Russell, really disappointed for him, obviously not making Q2 for the first time. And it was eventually going to happen. The Hungary ring, as I said, it was really windy yesterday. We know that the wind absolutely ruins any stability that the Williams has. But he still seemed a little bit disappointed, did Russell. And maybe he'll come back today a little bit stronger, and maybe it will give him an opportunity to fight with the Alfa Romeos in front of him, with Tsunoda, possibly with Sainz, if Sainz doesn't make up those places a little bit quicker. Latifi, Mazepin, and Mick Schumacher didn't actually make an appearance in qualifying yesterday after his crash. And I hope Mick Schumacher get into the top 15, but chances are low. Yeah, I don't know about Mick Schumacher. Obviously, another incident added into the list that Haas have got, and Gunther came out and said that there's a lot of accidents with these Haas drivers, and they're not really getting anything from it apart from losing lots and lots of money. But, they have got 2 rookies in the car, 2 drivers that are completely new to the sport of Formula One. Yes, they've driven in F2, but I've talked about this a lot. I think the step up from F2 is just dramatic. I think it's not talked about enough that even if you're good in F2, it does not mean you will be good in F1. I just don't think that is the same thing. I think there's a massive gap between F1 and F2 personally. But Mick Schumacher having another issue in FP3, similar to Monaco, where he crashed into the wall and didn't make qualifying. Or did he just make qualifying in Monaco? He might have just made qualifying in Monaco, if I remember correctly, but I'm not 100% sure. But again, crash in FP3 towards the middle end of FP3, and it's tough when you do that because the whole team has to band together and try and get the car ready. They weren't able to, so he is going to start from the back of the grid. That is our grid for today, though, and a little rundown of everybody involved in today's race. Let's quickly have a look at my predictions before we have a look at the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. Let's just throw these out the window now because I've put Carlos Sainz in the top 5. And I don't think that is going to happen. I put Alonso top 10. I'm glad I put Gasly as my wild card. Can I swap Gasly and Carlos Sainz? And then maybe I'd look a little bit more respectful. I went for Verstappen as the winner. I thought, you know, he'd be invigorated by what happened at Silverstone, a little bit annoyed with what happened at Silverstone, and try and fight back at the Mercedes. But the Mercedes was taking a little bit of a step forward. I think the Mercedes car looks the quicker of the two around the Hungary at this moment in time. And as I said, it's tricky to get past people here. It's going to be all down to the pit stops between those two and who can get the strategy and the tyres right. We've seen it in Spain, where Hamilton managed to completely outplay the Red Bull in terms of strategy. But then we've seen the same go back between the two. So it's going to be very close indeed. I went for Lando Norris, ending on a high, ending with a podium. He's going to need to get past Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, the likes, and Gasly, who's in front of him, if he's able to get that podium that I'm expecting from him and want him to get to round out this first half of the season and just to round out an exceptional drive from Lando Norris. I'd love to see him third in the championship moving into the summer break. I think that would just be a real standout for him and really show that quality that he has been just consistently with. I know that I did a video about Lando Norris's season so far, went back and looked at every single race, and he has just taken steps forward every single race, steps forward, moving, progressing up the grid, looks quicker and quicker every time he gets in the car. And I'm hoping for a podium just to round out this beautiful first half of the season that he has had. Carlos Sainz, I went for top 5. Can I switch it for Charles Leclerc now? Am I allowed to do that? Probably not. Carlos Sainz, yeah, qualifying 15th has put a little bit of a kibosh on that for him, but was hoping he'd end the season, or end the first half of the season on a bit of a high as well, because I think he's been exceptionally good in that Ferrari since the move. Alonso just looks like a reinvigorated man now he's back in Formula 1. I've gone for him getting points, getting in the top 10, and starting to rumble, you know, Vettel and Gasly, and starting to look at those drivers that are just in front of him in the Drivers' Championship. And then Gasly as my wild card. Top 10 maybe for Gasly. I mean, top 5 maybe for Gasly from his qualifying. I'll be very impressed if he can keep himself in the top 5 with a McLaren and a Ferrari just behind him. But you never know with Gasly. He does seem to just get performance out of this AlphaTauri whenever and wherever he is in terms of the grid. I've been really impressed with Gasly. Obviously had a really tough race in Silverstone, but is going to be moving forward and is going to be ready for today's race. Lando Norris now talking to the Sky reporters. Wow. Here we go. The race is starting. We got 12 minutes to go as Lando Norris, and the rain is coming down now. We've got Lando Norris even with an umbrella because it is raining so much. Could get very tasty indeed. Now the rain has come. Literally any predictions that I've got are completely out of the window, right? That's how it works. So it doesn't matter that I've made these predictions because the rain is now completely gotten rid of those. Let's have a little look through the chat, see if people are about. Why was Verstappen allowed to change engine after quali instead of going to Park Ferme? I think it was because the engine was the same engine that he had in the crash from Silverstone, and they might have had an issue with that engine, but I didn't know that. So I might have a little look at that for you in a moment. I'd imagine it was something to do with the fact that Honda couldn't allow the engine to go into race conditions just because they tried to fix the engine, obviously, that smashed into the wall at Silverstone, and possibly they weren't able to fix it properly for full race conditions. But I know that Max Verstappen's getting through those engines. It's probably going to have an issue with the engine later on in the second half of the season and might take a penalty for it later on. Mallory is back. Good morning to you. Afternoon for me. Probably evening for some of us. I know we are absolutely all over the globe in terms of our Formula One fans. Love it that you guys get up early or stay up late to watch these races. And of course, we'll be doing these live streams for me at crazy times when it comes to the American Grand Prix and the Singapore Grand Prix. The Singapore one's not, but the Asian Grand Prix that are coming up. Lots of early mornings, late nights for us throughout the season, and as we move into the second half of the season, in particular. Sent a link to a Zoom meet. Oh, yeah, we should definitely try for Belgium, mate. Apologies, I couldn't do this morning. Got called into work. I didn't even know if I was going to be back in time to be able to do the live stream. I'm very glad that I am, because it's looking like today's race might just hot up a little bit more than I expected. The rain is coming down. Are people going to be starting on the intermediates? Do they risk it? You know, it's not coming down super heavy. I don't know if it's full wet. Is it dry enough to just go for the slicks? It's going to be very interesting to see. What do you think? About how much Haas will improve next year? Haas are such an up and down team, right? I remember when Haas first came into the sport, what was it, 6 years ago, 5 years ago? And they sort of started off a little bit slow, and then they were amazingly good. They were like best of the rest, midfieldy. I think they ended up finishing 5th at one point. They could have picked up a podium here and there. Like, they were sort of edging towards getting their first ever podium. And I don't know what's happened to Haas. They've just fallen apart a little bit. Seems like sponsors have just gone wrong for them, and then drivers just haven't worked out in the way that they wanted them to. And yeah, it's been a real tough one for Haas, and I'm not sure how much Gene is really invested in Formula One anymore. I think Haas will keep going for now, but wouldn't be surprised if he got bought out by somebody else over the next few or so. Alonso's back to where he was pre-2015. He's absolutely resurgent. Let's pop the Drivers and Constructors Championship up for you. Alonso there, absolutely resurgent, now catching Vettel, and could put himself in the top 10 going into the break. And, you know, in that Alpine car, the Alpine only 7th in the Constructors Championship, still 8 points off the Aston Martin, but could put himself, you know, in and amongst it. I don't think he's going to be able to catch Gasly. I'd be very impressed if he can catch Gasly over the course of the season. But if Alonso can put himself in that 10th place ahead of Vettel and make himself the best of those like Alpine, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo drivers, like, he's doing exceptionally well, isn't he? He's really found some form in that Alpine. Just seems to have clicked with it over the last few races, finding a little bit of pace. And it's just horrible to try and get past. I think that's the main thing. We've seen so many trains of cars behind Alonso just because nobody can get past him. He's such a wall on the track. He knows exactly where to be in terms of his defensive driving. He's very, very good at defensive driving too. I can't see anyone getting past him. The thing is, wherever he qualifies, I think he's always just going to like finish the race there. I just can't imagine anyone getting past him. He's such a wall of a driver, and it's been really, really good indeed. Predictions out the window, Mazepin P1. I don't think the predictions aren't that far out the window, I don't think. Though he is starting in front of Mick Schumacher in 90. So it'll be interesting to see if Mick Schumacher can get back in front of Mazepin, or whether Mazepin can keep that place. There'll be a little bit of a fight between the Haas's. We probably won't see it on the coverage. It'll be something that I'll have to sort of look into after the race. Because if you're a Haas fan or a Latifi fan or even an Alfa Romeo fan at times, you don't really get to see the cars overly often when it comes to the Sky Sports coverage. So you have to have a little look after the race as well. It's dry now. Yeah, I know. It's going to be one of those, I think. Maybe it'll rain a little bit later on. Anyone give you a link to the race? I pay to watch it, so I cannot. I'm one of those people that puts in the cash money to watch the race, so I cannot give you a link, unfortunately. Let's quickly run down the drivers and constructors then, as we are now 5 minutes away from the start of the race. Drivers' Championship looks like this. Max Verstappen, 185 points. Hamilton in second, just 8 points behind. So if Hamilton wins today and gets the fastest lap, and then Verstappen is able to get second place, they will go on equal points moving into the summer break, and that would be very tasty indeed. Lando Norris keeping himself third in the championship, only 5 points ahead of Bottas though. So he needs to keep himself within 5 points of Valtteri Bottas today if he's going to keep that third place. I think it's going to be very tricky for him. But he might be able to keep in front of Perez if he can get maybe in front of Gasly and keep himself there, keep himself amongst the points. It's going to be tricky for him to keep third, but I really hope that he can do. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz in 6th and 7th, just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in 8th. 30 points actually between Leclerc and Ricciardo now. Ricciardo really needs to start making results go his way if he's going to catch up to either of those Ferraris. And he is absolutely light years away from being able to catch Lando Norris at this point. So I think, you know, the inter-team battle is all but done at McLaren this season. And we're looking at whether or not Ricciardo can catch the likes of Sainz and Leclerc. Again, I think it's going to be very tricky for him, to be honest with you. Gasly finds himself 9th. And, you know, he's just shown again in this qualifying session yesterday that he more than deserves to be there. He's been a little bit unlucky with some of the races over the course of this season. Gasly probably could have picked up even more points than 39. But he has got a podium to his name, so he has done exceptionally well in that AlphaTauri. Vettel finds himself 10th, but as I said, Alonso bearing down on him, and Alonso will be looking at that 10th place position, possibly picking up 4 points today, seeing if he can get in front of Vettel in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Stroll on 18, Ocon 14, Yuki Tsunoda on 10. And unfortunately, Yuki Tsunoda doesn't look like he's going to be making any ground up on the guys in front of him. I think he's destined for 14th this year. Yuki Tsunoda just doesn't look like he's going to be able to make up those places, make up those points where necessary, does it? He just can't get to grips with the car, bless him. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, as I've talked about, on a point apiece in the Drivers' Championship. So if either of them can pick up a point today, that would be massive for them in their inter-team battle. And also just making sure that Alfa Romeo stays in 8th place in the Constructors' Championship. Russell 17th. I think this is the furthest away he's looked from points in the last few races, which is really unfortunate for George Russell. Bless him. But that is the case, unfortunately, for the Williams. It's very windy around the Hungary ring. I don't think it really... I don't think the track really suits a Williams car. Not that many of the tracks do. But we've seen, obviously, Austria kind of suited George Russell down to the ground. Silverstone was his home Grand Prix. A little bit of a boost there too. But now back to 17th place for George Russell in terms of qualifying. And he stays there in terms of the Drivers' Championship as well. Mick Schumacher, 18th. Mazepin, 19th. And Latifi down in 20th in terms of our Drivers' Championship so far. The Constructors' Championship, Red Bull lead by 4 points. They are 4 points ahead of Mercedes, who find themselves second in the Drivers' Championship for the first time in what feels like forever. It's been years since Mercedes have had a real fight in the Constructors' Championship, but that is where we are this season. McLaren find themselves moderately comfortable in 3rd place. They're not really going to be looking at catching Mercedes anytime soon, but Ferrari just about far enough behind that they can feel fairly comfortable with that. AlphaTauri also find themselves in 5th place, 1 point ahead of Aston Martin. So it's very crucial today, if AlphaTauri are going to keep that 5th place going into the summer break, that they pick up some points and that Aston Martin maybe struggle to pick up some. Vettel, obviously, in 10th place. That would give him 1 point, which would put them equal. But Gasly all the way up in 5th. So if Gasly can finish 5th, he is going to extend that lead in the Constructors by a considerable margin and push AlphaTauri over the 50-point gap. Alpine on 40 points. They're going to be looking to catch Aston Martin and AlphaTauri as much as possible. Both of the drivers in the points in qualifying yesterday. Can they keep in the points during the race? Well, they don't really need to look behind them because, as we said, Alfa Romeo only on 2 points in 8th position, Williams in 9th, and Haas find themselves dead last in the Constructors' Championship. So today is very big moving into the summer break. There's a lot on track happening. The weather is mixed. There's lots of drivers, I'd say, a little bit out of position in terms of their qualifying, in terms of where I maybe expected them to be in terms of this track. There's not a lot of spaces on this track, though, where you can overtake. Been playing this track a lot over the sort of week, getting ready on the F1 2021 game over on Twitch. And anyone who has been involved in those Twitch live streams will know there is not a lot of spaces to overtake on this track. It can be very frustrating indeed getting locked behind some of the drivers. as you go round and round chasing their tail. But that is the way that some of these tracks are, and especially with the way that the Formula One cars are at the moment, where they really can't, you know, get that close to one another, especially in dirty air as well. So, ooh, Valtteri Bottas. Let's see then. I'm expecting possibly Inters. It's still looking fairly wet out there. Is it still raining, or is that just residue that is left over from the rain? Ooh. Hamilton saying that he should have started on slicks, possibly. If the rain doesn't come, it's going to be very, very tough for them indeed. It's so interesting, right? Everybody's starting on Inters now. They've gone for the option of starting on Inters, but it's looking like it's drying up quite quickly. Doesn't look like there's much rain coming down at all. I'm just trying to see whether there's actual rain coming from the sky, or whether the water that is on the cars is just residue sort of left over from the little rain that we had 10 or 15 minutes ago. It's very, very, very insightful that Hamilton said that he would have maybe preferred to start on slicks, but everybody is starting on Inters. So, you know, he's not losing out or gaining anything by starting on the exact same tyre as everybody else. Although it does kind of ruin the fact that they qualified on the mediums, Red Bull qualified on the softs. I was looking to see where the strategy change would be between those and whether that was going to really come into fruition. We're not going to see that now because everybody has been able to change onto the Inter tyres and has been able to obviously get themselves set up in case it does rain. Oh, the rain is coming down. There is a little bit of rain coming down that I can see there. Predictions are coming in. Lewis for the win. Has there been any race in the rain this season? Yeah, Imola. Oh, Dicey literally just said that. Sorry. Steal your thunder. Yeah, Imola was wet during the race. Valtteri Bottas and George Russell obviously having that come together when George Russell got on the grass and it was too slippery. But yeah, that was very wet, Imola, wasn't it? Very wet indeed. Although it just doesn't look that wet. There is still rain coming down, but it's so few and far between. It'd be very interesting to see when people opt to go for the slicks. Because, oh, actually, it does look quite low grip. We're on board with Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. It does look like the drivers are struggling to find those little patches of grip throughout the track, actually. Maybe Inters was right. Maybe Inters was right. Really rooting for Leclerc, Verstappen, and Schumacher. Oh, that's a nice little mix of drivers that you're a fan of. I'm a sort of Norris, Sainz fan. George Russell I quite like as well. Vettel I really quite like as well. So I sort of root for those drivers. No one in the top, though, unfortunately, for me at this moment in time. Verstappen for the win. He is very good in the wet. I think we have to remember that Verstappen is exceptionally quick in the wet weather. So it'll be interesting to see if both Haas drivers get to the end of the race in the wet today. Mick Schumacher did have an issue in Imola, didn't he? And obviously had the issue in FP3 as well. Didn't get to qualify. So he's going to have to take it a little bit more carefully. Perez able to overtake Bottas. Ooh. I think it's going to be tricky for him. Verstappen has to get past first. Unless, obviously, Perez is able to get in front of Verstappen. I'm not sure how happy Red Bull would be if Perez overtook Verstappen, to be honest with you. Here we go, then. We are starting to line up on the grid now. The drivers getting set. Who is that? Sebastian Vettel coming in. Ooh. Antonio Giovinazzi. He's going to put on some slick tyres. Giovinazzi. You cheeky little devil, you. Wow. Is he going to put on slicks? Or is he going to put on wets? I don't know. We'll find out in a bit because it's lights out and away we go. Bottas has got an awful start. Norris is actually round Bottas and ahead of Verstappen. Oh, and Bottas hits into Norris. Oh, takes out both Red Bulls. Oh my goodness me. And Ricciardo's just spun round as well. Oh my goodness me. Who's in second? Is it Fernando Alonso in second? Oh my God, that was awful. That was awful. Bottas just caused a chain reaction. Bottas hit into Norris. Norris hit into Verstappen. And then Bottas also hit into Perez. Oh my goodness. Carnage going down into turn 1. Absolute carnage. We'll see if anybody has picked up damage. I think all the drivers have continued on. But the order has changed insanely. We've got Haas's fighting with Red Bulls. We've got McLaren's fighting with Williams's. Good gracious me. Toto, get in there, Bottas. Yeah, to be fair, Hamilton has come out unscathed and everybody else. Oh, no, it is Bottas's. Bottas's race looks like it has ended. We're going to have a safety car. Charles Leclerc also out of the race as well on the first lap. Wow, what has gone on? Crazy scenes here. So Bottas, Leclerc, and possibly even Stroll has gone out as well. So let's have a look. Bottas gets away absolutely awfully. It's so incredibly slow from Bottas. Bottas loses out to both Red Bulls and Norris and almost Gasly as well off the start line. But then when Bottas comes to brake, he hits into the back of Norris. Norris hits Verstappen. Bottas hits Perez. Pierre Gasly has to get completely out of the way and loses so many positions because of that. Ricciardo spins round with somebody. Wow, Valtteri Bottas just loses it over. Lando Norris hits into Verstappen. Verstappen goes out wide. Perez gets hit by Bottas. Bottas is in the wall. Wow, this is a mad start to the race. This is crazy to see. So yeah, Lando Norris gets miles ahead of Bottas, and Bottas just hits into the back of him. Just absolutely ruins him, and then hits into the side of Perez. Oh, not a great start for Bottas there. I think he's going to get told off quite a lot. So who have we lost from the race? We've lost Bottas, we've lost Leclerc, we've lost Stroll, and possibly even Perez. Perez is coming up on the screen now as also being out of the race. So this has put a real cat amongst the pigeons, guys. We could definitely see a crazy podium today. I think Hamilton has got this on lock. So much debris on the track, all over the place. Ocon is in second place. Vettel is in third. Carlos Sainz has gone from 15th to 4th place. We are living in a manic world. This is absolutely mental. Absolutely insane what we're seeing here, guys. We've got Ocon in second, Vettel third, Sainz fourth, Tsunoda fifth, Latifi is in 6th place, Alonso 7th, Russell in the points in 8th place, Raikkonen 9th, Mick Schumacher in a Haas is in 10th. Gasly all the way down in 11th, Ricciardo 12th, Verstappen is all the way down in 13th, Mazepin 14th, Norris 15th, Giovinazzi 16th, and everybody else is out. What is going on? What is going on? This is mental. This is one of the absolute, like the grid. It's almost like you've got the grid, right? And the grid is a pack of cards. And then you've thrown them all over the floor and picked them up in a random order. And that's what you've decided is the order of the races so far. And we have a red flag as well. The session has been suspended. Oh my God. Red flag. There is a lot of debris on the track, to be fair. There is a lot of debris here, there, and everywhere on the track. This is an insane race, by the way. Imagine if Latifi is the driver to get the first Williams points. Just the fact that George Russell's been so close every single race. And it looks like it could be Latifi is the man that picks up points for Williams. Goodness gracious me. 3 laps, red flag, unfortunately. The rain is still coming down, though. So it'd be interesting to see whether people come out still on the inters. Are we going to risk it on the wets? Giovinazzi obviously came in, changed his tyres. We didn't really see any repercussions from that. Where is Giovinazzi? I didn't actually see where he was. I think he is 16th, wasn't he? Of the drivers actually still in the race because we've lost 4 of them. Oh, my goodness. My goodness me. 4 drivers out of the race. Bottas, Perez, Leclerc, and Lance Stroll all out of the Hungarian Grand Prix within 3 laps. And everybody is out of position. Apart from Hamilton, you'd argue. Hamilton is still first. And everybody else has been messed around. Actually, can I pop this up? Here we go. I was trying to get this to work. And it might just. Let me know if you can even read this. Because it's something that I've been working on. But haven't actually finished yet. So here we are. So Hamilton finds himself in first. Esteban Ocon finds himself second. Sebastian Vettel third. Carlos Sainz fourth. Yuki Tsunoda, the wrong AlphaTauri, finds himself in fifth. Nicholas Latifi sixth. Fernando Alonso seventh. George Russell eighth. Kimi Räikkönen ninth. Mick Schumacher 10th. Currently, our points finishers, 2 Williamses and a Haas in there. Mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling, this race so far. Already, we are looking at absolute carnage. It is insane to see. Obviously, the guys have got to clean up the track now. Let's have a look at this race start. I kind of want to see the race start from like a Ricciardo angle. Because Ricciardo seems to get a really good buzz off the line. Is past both of the Alpines as Ricciardo. And then what happens to Ricciardo as he comes through the corner? Oh, it's Lance Stroll hits into Charles Leclerc, hits into Ricciardo. So there's like domino effects throughout the whole grid. Bottas causes 4 incidents, you could argue. He hits Norris, Verstappen and Perez. And then Stroll hits into Leclerc, who hits into Ricciardo. So there is a lot going on over the course of this first lap. This is what I mean by just keep yourself clean, and sometimes it can go your way. The graphic is small print. Yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to. We'll go back. We'll go back. It's something that I've been working on trying to integrate, because I know you guys want like a live feed of the races and a live feed of where the drivers are in terms of the race, but it's something that I have not finished yet, hence why it looks nothing like anything else that I've produced. But here we go. We've got enough time now that we've got a red flag. I could rehash the grid, rehash the grid and see what that looks like. Oh my goodness me. Jesus. Toto to Russell. Have to wait for another year, son. Bottas is indeed the perfect team player. Bottas took out everybody that could possibly have caught Hamilton this race, right? Bottas took out himself, Verstappen, Perez, and Norris. The 4 drivers that I thought could have a chance at fighting Hamilton for the lead. Took out all of them. Took out all 4. All 4 of them. Just gone. Also ruined Gasly's race as well. Has put Gasly completely out of it, because Gasly had to dive out of the way of Sergio Perez, who was coming towards him. Absolutely mental. And then Stroll has ruined Leclerc's race. And possibly Ricciardo's as well. We don't know how much damage Ricciardo's going to have. We don't know how much damage Ricciardo and Norris, is going to have. We don't know how much damage the Verstappen is going to have. There's a lot. Oh. Oh, it's really bad, actually. Stroll just drives into the side of Leclerc. He's absolutely no chance of getting away. And then his front left tyre is just completely gone. Oh, my goodness. Gasly is so lucky not to be collected up in that, by the way. It could have been Gasly as well, because Gasly is alongside Perez moving into turn 1. And just manages to get out of the way. Let's have a look at this from Charles Leclerc's angle. Yeah, just carnage in front of him. Carnage in front of him. And then Stroll suddenly comes up the inside and just mashes you too. Goodness gracious me. Imagine Christian Horner right now. Christian Horner is going to be livid. both of his drivers just got taken out by a Mercedes. Goodness gracious me. It's like, it's his worst nightmare, isn't it? Absolute worst nightmare. Let me write this down then. So Lewis Hamilton, and then we've got Ocon, and then we've got Vettel, by the way. We've got Sainz. By the way, I said Sainz might finish top 5. Thank you. I think you'll find he's in and amongst it. Tsunoda in 5th. Who's in 6th? Latifi. Goodness gracious me, this graphic is going to be all over the place. Alonso in 7th. How's Alonso that far down when Ocon's been able to get all the way up there? Russell finds himself in 8th. Okay. Raikkonen 9th. Raikkonen 9th kind of like rolls off the tongue. That's fairly reasonable. Mick Schumacher in 10th. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Who's 11th? Gasly's all the way down in 11th now. To be fair, he'd probably be fairly happy with that because he didn't actually sustain any damage, whereas there's lots of drivers that did. Verstappen down in 13th. Wowie woo. Mazepin all the way up in 14th. Bless him. Crazy. And then Gio. Is Gio 15th? Oh, sorry. Norris 15th. And Gio 16th. And then everybody else is out. So let's put together this graphic for you then. So we can see who is out of the race. Because it's looking mental. It's looking absolutely insane is what it's looking like right now. I hate Mercedes. How long is the red flag? Oh, we haven't actually been told yet. I haven't seen anything pop up to say how long the red flag is going to be. I'm not going to bother doing the colours, by the way, because that would just take forever. So let's just go for a simple blue and white design. Wow. Wow. So now we wait. Now we wait, lads. Can I pop that up? So here is what we're looking at this moment in time. Here is what we are looking at. It's crazy indeed. I fancy Esteban Ocon for a podium. He's up in 2nd. Anything could happen. And Alpine have looked quick this weekend, right? And this is a track, by the way. This is a track that is hard to overtake on. Putting yourself in this position is exceptionally good. It is difficult to overtake on this track. There are not a lot of places where you can overtake. And down into turn 1 is very narrow and very tricky to get right. So it is going to be crazy for these guys. Absolutely crazy. We're going to have at least one midfield driver on the podium. Most definitely. Possibly 2. Possibly 3. Depending on how Hamilton's race manages to sort of pan out over the course of this. William and Haas in the points. Both in the points. If you're Alfa Romeo, you are absolutely cursing right now. Because Latifi is in 6th place and could pick up some points. Mick Schumacher's in 10th place and could pick up some points. You are seething if you are Alfa Romeo right now. You hate Mercedes. I mean, Bottas, I don't think Bottas did it on purpose, but he has just ruined everyone's race. He's ruined Lando Norris. He's managed to ruin both Red Bulls. Gasly's race has been ruined by Bottas. Wow. Gutted. Gutted. And then obviously Lance Stroll and Leclerc. It'll be interesting to see if both of the McLarens actually get going again. Because Lando Norris took a massive shunt. And Ricciardo also took a massive shunt and spun all the way around. So it's going to be very interesting indeed if actually either of these McLarens can get going again. It's a crazy race to round out the season. Absolutely crazy race to round out this first half of the season, isn't it? This is what we needed. Absolute carnage and then a summer break. Just to really calm ourselves back down again. Because this is mental. Let's leave a like on the stream for me. I'll take this opportunity whilst there's a red flag to plug my random things that I've got going on. How many likes have we got on the stream? We've got 16 likes on the stream at this moment in time. Can we get all the way up to 20 likes on the stream during the red flag? Can we get up to 20 likes. If we get up to 20 likes, I've heard that we actually might restart the race. So I'd do it if I were you. Ocon looks like a cat that ate a canary in the paddock right now. I love that. That's an excellent saying. Okay, here we go. The race will resume in approximately 15 minutes. Approximately 15 minutes we've got before the race gets back underway. I love Formula One, man. I just love, like, there's no other sport where this madness would just happen. It's absolutely come out of nowhere. Valtteri Bottas has caused chaos amongst the grid. Lance Stroll decided he'd get in on the action as well, and has just decided that, actually, you know what? I'll take out 3 drivers as well. If Bottas is going to take out 4 drivers, I'll take out 3 drivers too. And just smash through the grid. Absolutely amazing. Ocon has come out the best of this. Vettel could be looking at a second podium this season, by the way. Imagine Vettel, 2 podiums in the first 11 races in that Aston Martin. That is disgusting form from him. Let's have a look at how this could affect the Drivers' Championship, by the way, because it's all up in the air now. Because Vettel could easily get a podium here, put himself 9th in the Drivers' Championship. Norris could be out. Bottas and Perez are out. So we're looking at, and Leclerc is out. So this is a massive opportunity for Carlos Sainz to be catching up to the guys in front of him. Verstappen is outside the points at this moment in time. Hamilton could get another win. That could completely flip the Drivers' Championship 100%. Like, we're looking at a massive point swing here for lots of guys along the grid. Ocon is currently in a podium position. He's only got 14 points over the course of the season. He could double that just now in one race at this point in time. Ocon could jump up to what, like 10th? Even yeah, he could jump up into 10th. Although Vettel is on the podium as well, so it's just insane. There's so much going on. Yuki Tsunoda only on 10 points, finds himself 5th on track right now. He's going to jump some places. He could catch up to Ocon or Alonso or Stroll. Stroll's completely out of the race. We could see Tsunoda jump in front of Stroll in terms of the Drivers' Championship as well. Absolutely mental. This is crazy. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat then. Lando is out. I really hope not. I haven't seen anything with Lando being out as of yet, but I haven't really been paying attention because I know that there's a red flag. Oh my God. Esteban Ocon is so lucky, by the way. Esteban Ocon is like this far away from also being involved in the Stroll, Leclerc, Ricciardo incident, but manages to completely get it right. Vettel as well. We're seeing the start from Vettel's perspective. Here we go. So Vettel actually gets a really rubbish start. Stroll gets in front of him. Sainz gets in front of him. So Vettel, by having a poor start, has won the lottery in that he got completely out of the way of Stroll, of that incident that was in front of him. The master plan from Vettel getting a really poor start and now jumping up to 3rd place on the track. Wow, this is insane. Absolutely amazing. And we're up to 30 likes on the stream. You guys are wonderful people. You guys are... We deserve this race to round out, to go into the summer break together. Absolutely amazing stuff. Thank you so much for 30 likes on the stream. Let's just keep going. I was aiming for like 25 today. I'll be honest with you. I was hoping to get 25 over the course of the race. We're only 3 laps in and we're on 30. Let's bump it. If you haven't liked the stream, drop a like right now. It helps me out, helps everybody else out as well that is involved with the channel. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it massively. Can Red Bull repair Max's car? So we're under red flag, so they can make small adjustments and changes. So you can change tyres, you can change front wings, you can change pretty much anything that you would change in a pit stop. So whether we will see them be able to put together a fight for Max Verstappen, and whether Max Verstappen will even be able to get back into the race properly and be able to jump ahead of some of the drivers in front of him. Max Verstappen currently finds himself 13th out of the points and with damage. Wow. I'll be very surprised if... I mean, Norris took a huge shunt. So I'll be very, very surprised if Norris is still in the race. I'll be surprised if Ricciardo is still in the race. Ricciardo took a massive hit from those guys. Like Stroll and Leclerc hit Ricciardo at speed. like Stroll literally, it didn't even look like Stroll slowed down for the corner. He just went through it like a torpedo of a man. Stroll just absolutely flying. Karen Hornet will be definitely resurfacing today. Most definitely. Now that Perez is out of the race, and it looks like Verstappen could be completely out of it too, Red Bull will not be very happy bunnies, will they? There's so much going on. So many teams completely out of position because everybody lines up in the pit lane during a red flag. And like, if you're Haas, you've got quite a run down to where Schumacher is in 10th now. Russell looks very, very focused indeed, talking to his engineer. And Russell's like, how in the God damn it has Latifi got in front of me? Latifi's not allowed to be in front of me, lads. Team orders for Williams is what is necessary at this point. Latifi finds himself in 6th with Russell down in 8th. Just seems straight. Just doesn't even look right, does it? Just seems completely obscene that Russell is behind Latifi. It just doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. Imagine Latifi finishing in front of Russell. That's what I mean. If Latifi gets points and finishes in front of Russell and gets in front of Russell in the Drivers' Championship because he picks up more points, if you're a Russell fan, you are seething. if you're who caused the incident? So there was 2 incidents really. One incident with Bottas. Bottas hit into the back of Norris, and then Norris hit Verstappen, while Bottas went off and hit Perez. So that was a good 5 drivers just in and amongst it with each other there, because Gasly also nearly got hit there. So those 5 just decided to have an absolute party together. And then Stroll just decided to drive straight through turn 1. There is actually a turn, hence why it's called turn 1. But Stroll wasn't quite sure, just absolutely slammed into the side of Charles Leclerc, and then Charles Leclerc also then hit into the side of Daniel Ricciardo. So a little bit of a chain reaction in a few different places across the grid so far. We're looking now at Max Verstappen's car. The Red Bull guy is doing a lot of work on it at this moment in time. Engineers all over the back and sides of Max Verstappen's car. They're trying to do anything and everything that they can to make sure that this car is ready to go for the Grand Prix once it does restart. We're heading towards a restart. What is it? 6 minutes my time. Leclerc saying on Twitter, nice bowling game. I mean, it pretty much was. Like, Lance Stroll just came through, took out 3 drivers, and then Bottas came through, took out 4 drivers, nearly 5 drivers. Oh, Sergio Perez now talking to Sky. Perez just couldn't have done anything, to be honest with you. Valtteri Bottas makes the mistake, and Perez is just caught up in and amongst it, right? There's nothing that Perez could have done. Perez did well not to hit Gasly, to be fair. I think Perez did Gasly a favour, probably, in being able to get amongst it. Here we go. Yeah, Perez just dejected, annoyed, frustrated. Oh, the start from Carlos Sainz's perspective. Let's see. So Carlos Sainz does get in front of Vettel and is just behind Stroll, but brakes pretty early, understands that he's going to have to go wide into turn 1, and just watches the carnage happen. It all happens in front of Lance Stroll, in front of Carlos Sainz and Sebastian Vettel. Now, those two just watch all of this madness happen in front of them and manage to make the apex, basically. Vettel just goes very, very cautious through turn 1. Yuki Tsunoda's having a little look at Sebastian Vettel. Not quite enough space for him, though. So gets off of it fairly early. Latifi on his left-hand side and does a similar... He does the smart thing and just follows Vettel through Yuki Tsunoda. He's very intelligent there. He's understood that actually of all these drivers in front of me, I trust Sebastian Vettel the most. And he's just followed Sebastian Vettel through turn 1. So a very, very intellectual move there from Latifi as well. Latifi just flies. Yeah, Latifi, it's all happened by the time that those guys get there. But Latifi makes a lovely little move on George Russell, actually. Makes a lovely little move on George Russell. Just dinks on the inside of him and gets through. So Latifi actually very clever there in turn one. Sees the carnage happening in front of him. Sees that Russell has to get off of the gas. And just tucks in. Inside the inside. Cheeky. Yeah, Lando Norris. 15 races that Lando Norris has been able to get points in a row. And there's nothing he could have done about it. He looks annoyed and I'd be fairly annoyed if I was Lando Norris too. There's absolutely nothing that Lando Norris can do at that point. Valtteri Bottas just drives into the back of him, smacks him into Verstappen. Not very happy. Ooh, and Lando Norris calling for Bottas to get a penalty. Lando Norris has said that he's had penalties throughout the season for absolutely nothing of this kind of caliber. So he is looking for them to pick up a penalty. Ooh. Yeah, Ricciardo did not survive the crashes. He was very, very much caught by Leclerc as he went through. Unfortunate for Daniel Ricciardo. Especially because this is the kind of opportunity you want as a Daniel Ricciardo fan, right? Everybody else in front of you crashing out. Opportunity to get into the top 10 fairly easily. And then, yeah, it just doesn't go his way. So Daniel Ricciardo is down in 12th at this moment in time. Haven't seen Daniel Ricciardo actually on track at this point. So whether or not he is going to be still in the race, I'm not sure. But everybody is out of position. Hamilton, Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Tsunoda, Latifi, Alonso, Russell, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher make up our top 10 at this moment in time. As we wait now, we are, 2 minutes less than away from a restart here in Hungary. It's all wet. It's going to be drying up slightly. The rain has sort of petered out a little bit. Going to be going out again on Inters, I would imagine. Wow. Here we go. Oh. Okay, so Daniel Ricciardo, it does look like Daniel Ricciardo is going to be in the race, even though his car is going to be damaged. So it's going to be tricky to see what Daniel Ricciardo can do with that. A damaged car, already down in 12th, obviously had that bit of an issue. I think we're looking at Gasly at this point in time. Gasly, from what I saw, didn't take any damage from the incident. Managed to get out of the way of Sergio Perez, who just sort of came flying towards him down into turn one. Gasly had to go super wide, hence why he's now down in 11th place. But I don't think Gasly took any damage. So we're looking at Gasly as our man that is very out of position and also in a car that might still be working fully. Whereas Ricciardo, Verstappen, they both have taken a lot of damage over the course of that incident. But let's see then. We are going to restart the race. We've got 7 seconds from where I am. In my opinion, Bottas couldn't do anything as when he braked, he locked up. Yes, but I still think he's going to pick up a penalty for it, to be honest with you. He's caused so much carnage, right? He's caused so many incidents as Bottas at this point. Matt's car looks like it has floor damage. I'd be surprised if it's just floor damage, to be honest with you. I'd be surprised if it's just floor damage because it was a very big shunt with Lando Norris. I know Lando Norris was starting to slow down for the corner anyway, but when Bottas just comes through the back of you like that, it is a very big one. You've just joined. What the hell is going on, mate? You have missed the carnage that was turn one. So we've had an incident where Valtteri Bottas hit into the back of Norris, which caused Norris to hit Verstappen, and Bottas also hit Perez. So those guys had an incident. And then Lance Stroll hit into the side of Leclerc, which hit into the side of Daniel Ricciardo. It's all going on. It is all going on at this moment in time. And hence why At this point, we have Hamilton in first, Ocon in second, Vettel in third, Carlos Sainz fourth, Tsunoda fifth, Latifi sixth, Alonso seventh, Russell eighth, Raikkonen ninth, Mick Schumacher 10th. Absolutely crazy stuff going on. Absolutely insane. And we've just hit 40 likes on the stream. You guys are the best people in the world. Can we get up to 50? I think our record for a stream is 50. I might have to go back and have a look. I think our record for a stream might be 50 likes. If we can hit 50 likes, we're having the best day. We're already having the best day. Can we have the best day is what we are pointing towards now. You hope Mick can pick up a point. It's going to be so tough for him. He's got Gasly and Ricciardo and Verstappen that are all going to be bearing down on him and hoping for him to make a mistake. Also, you got to remember, the track is slippery. Wow. Oh my goodness me. So it's looking dry and tyres are coming out. Tyres are coming out. People are thinking about going on to slicks. It's dried up enough. Ocon has gone into the pits, you know. Wow. Ocon has gone for the medium compound tyre. So's Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is coming in for a medium compound. Is Verstappen. Verstappen's coming in. So many cars are coming in for slick tyres. And we've hit 50 likes on the stream. We are living in a dream world, ladies and gentlemen. This is madness. Guys, we are seeing absolute obscenities. Everyone's coming in. Everybody's coming in for slick tyres. Apart from Hamilton. Oh my goodness. Hammy is alone on the grid. Have we ever seen a lights out with one car on the grid? What on earth is going on here? Mercedes have opted to stay on the intermediate tyre. Everybody else is starting from the pit lane. Russell is in second place. What is going on? Ocon third, Vettel fourth, Latifi fifth, Tsunoda sixth, Sainz seventh, Raikkonen eighth, Alonso ninth, Ricciardo 10th. It's all gone. It's all gone, ladies and gentlemen. It's madness. It is stupid. We are in silly season in this racetrack. Look at this right now. Absolutely insane. We are living in a dream world. What is going on at this point? Hamilton leads the race. Russell is in second and is getting bared down on Ocon. My goodness me. Everybody pitted. Everybody pitted apart from Lewis Hamilton. Everybody pitted apart from Lewis Hamilton. Oh. Lewis Hamilton comes on the radio and says it's dry. Lewis Hamilton's going to have to pit. And he's going to go down into last place, right? Because everybody is just pit. And everybody's grouped up together. Oh, no. George Russell's losing out on places. He's dropping down the grid. No way. What is this? Why can George Russell not get any luck? Why can George Russell not get any luck? He's dropping down the grid. He's going to have issues. That's it. George Russell's out. Ocon moves into first. Hamilton comes in for the medium compound tyre. Now, this is interesting. Where is Hamilton going to come out? Is he going to be behind Verstappen? He is. Who's that? That's Gasly going past. And that's Giovinazzi going past. Hamilton is 14th. Ocon is leading the Grand Prix. Ocon is leading the Grand Prix. What is happening? Vettel is second. Latifi's on a podium. Latifi's on the podium. What is going on? I mean, this predictions board. Let's throw this out the window. Just remembered I do predictions for the race. Let's pick this up and just throw that away. Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. So this is how we started. Oh, Russell didn't have a problem, but he undertook in the pit lane. George Russell was told to give those positions back. George Russell's in for points. He doesn't have an issue. He's in for points. Oh my God. Oh my God. George Russell's in for points because he doesn't have an issue, but he had to give the places back. That's fine. I'd rather that than him have an issue and be out of this race. What is happening? Ocon's just set the fastest lap of the race. Ocon's flying in first. What is happening? What is going on? If this doesn't get you into Formula One, I don't know what will. I'm crying. I'm tears of joy, tears of just absolute madness. Oh my God. All the hard work done by Bottas for Hamilton is undone. Yeah, very true. Mercedes have thrown it away. Oh, let's have a look. Who's this? Mazepin. Oh, Mazepin collides with Raikkonen. And Mazepin is out. Oh, in the pit lane. Wow, Alfa Romeo released Kimi Raikkonen in front of Mazepin. Surely they're going to get a penalty for that. So Raikkonen's going to drop back down again. Because Raikkonen, that was a clear unsafe release there by the Alfa Romeo guys. Mazepin was coming in, and it's ruined Mazepin's race. So Hamilton is last. Hamilton being told he's going to be the fastest man out there. And Hamilton's at the back now. But this is going to light up, right? Hamilton is so quick on this track. And he's got an opportunity now to just go for it. Wow. If Hamilton wins, I'll eat my shorts alive in this chat. I don't think it's about winning. I think it's just about if he can pick enough points to pick up first in the Drivers' Championship. My goodness me. Ocon, by the way, is flying away from the rest of the pack. Vettel as well. Vettel's miles ahead of Latifi. Vettel's 6.5 seconds ahead of Latifi. What is going on? This is insane. This is the craziest race I can remember seeing. This is mental. What am I going to do? I've got to write a review of this race later on. What do I say? Just went to absolute shit. Everything stopped working and the world flipped upside down. My goodness me, this is mental. Absolutely insane. Ocon leads the race. Vettel is in second. Latifi third. Tsunoda fourth. Carlos Sainz in fifth. Alonso finds himself sixth. Russell is down in seventh place after having given those places back, but still dead in the points is Russell. Raikkonen in eighth. Ricciardo finds himself ninth. Mick Schumacher has stayed in the points. We could see a Haas pick up points this season. How? Haas are awful. But it is so difficult to overtake on this track that honestly, it could be insane. Latifi is holding up everybody. Ocon could just drive away with this because Latifi is causing everyone behind him to just lose so much time. This is Ocon's to lose right now. This is Ocon's to lose. This is mental. This is the craziest race I've ever seen in my life. And we are up to 59 likes on the stream. Can we hit 60? Someone who hasn't, come on, pop up to 60. Why not? Because I'm losing the will. I'm just losing the will to understand what life is anymore. Hamilton has caught up to the pack now, though. He is looking at the back of... I'm looking at the back of Giovinazzi from on board with Hamilton. Can he get through, though? Hamilton actually has gone a 10th slower than Giovinazzi in the first sector. I told you it would be an Ocon, Vettel, Latifi podium. If you put a bet on that it would be an Ocon, Vettel, Latifi podium right now, you'd be a millionaire. Like, that would just be the case. That would just be the case. Raikkonen is under investigation, though, for that incident with Mazepin in the pits. And personally, I think Raikkonen is going to pick up a penalty for that. So we're looking at Mick Schumacher being even better in terms of his points finish. And it could be that Mick Schumacher is going to get 9th place. because Raikkonen is definitely going to drop down. We are on lap 9 of the race, and already we've got all of this going on. Hamilton bearing at the back of Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi doing everything in his power to keep Hamilton behind. Can he find a way around him? No. Giovinazzi closes the door on Hamilton. Which is more crazy, back of all this? This by a long shot. Have you seen who's on the podium? Ocon, Vettel, Latifi. Goodness gracious me. Wow. Wow. What is going on? Should we have a look at the race board to see if it gives us any sort of information whatsoever? Not really. Esteban Ocon, Sebastian Vettel, Nicholas Latifi, Yuki Tsunoda finds himself in 4th place. Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, George Russell in 7th place. Kimi Raikkonen, Daniel Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher make up the top 10. Wow, and George Russell saying that he will box early to help Nicholas Latifi. George Russell is a saint. I'm almost crying. George Russell is so selfless. That is amazing from George Russell. He's saying that he will basically optimize whatever he needs to do to help Latifi stay where he is. That is selfless from George Russell and beautiful from him. That is insane. And Hamilton has finally managed to get ahead of Giovinazzi as well. But Gasly is still stuck in the middle of a championship battle at this moment in time. And it's going to be tough to get past Gasly. If it was tricky to get past Giovinazzi, it's going to be even trickier still to get in front of Pierre Gasly. My goodness me. Ocon is currently 1.2 seconds ahead of Vettel, but Vettel almost 5.5 seconds ahead of Latifi. So it's looking comfortable for the top 2. Madness. Absolute madness. Oh, and it's a stop and go penalty for Giovinazzi for speeding in the pit lane. So it's gone from bad to worse for Giovinazzi. He is now the last running car. In 14th is Giovinazzi. And it is going to be a stop and go penalty for Giovinazzi. So he's going to have to come in and do 10 seconds. Hamilton with a bit of a lock-up into turn 1 is not really gaining on Pierre Gasly. Is going to really struggle. We need Hamilton to get past Gasly fairly soon if this is going to happen for Hamilton, if he's going to have an opportunity to fight back into the points. But Verstappen still behind Schumacher, by the way. Verstappen getting caught up behind Schumacher. And again, those guys that are back behind Schumacher going very, very slow. It's giving the rest of the field an opportunity to really push their legs and get going, whilst those guys, you know, your Verstappens, your Hamiltons, are still having a little bit of trouble. Now, Vettel is making up 0.2 or so on Ocon every single lap. Those two effectively driving their own race at this point. Might as well just get them their own Grand Prix, because Latifi is miles off the pace in comparison to Vettel and Ocon. Wow. This is mental, by the way. This is insane. Ocon is looking comfortable, though. Vettel is getting towards... He's closing the gap a little bit. Can Vettel get within DRS is the real push. Is DRS even enabled? Because it was wet beforehand. So we might not even have DRS ready. This has got to be one of the craziest races on the F1 books by a mile. By a mile. This is insane. We've got Max Verstappen currently fighting with a Haas for 10th place. Did anyone have that? Anyone have that on their predictions? I don't think so. Hamilton saying that this is ridiculous. I don't understand how Hamilton was the only man to stay on the intermediate tyres. Everybody pitted apart from Hamilton. And that's absolutely killed his race. He's shot to bits now. Both Williams in the points, a Haas in the points, an Alpine winning the race. You got a feel for Daniel Ricciardo, right? He moved from Renault because they weren't getting consistent podiums, and now Ocon is going to win a race. Mental. Absolutely insane from these guys. Imagine Hamilton and Verstappen crashing while racing for 11th place. Absolutely mental. Hamilton's really struggling behind Gasly as well. He's managed to catch up to the back of Gasly, but he's really struggling in the battle behind him. Mick Schumacher, the DRS is enabled, and Gasly is doing everything in his power to stop Hamilton getting round. And the only real opportunity to overtake is down into turn 1. And Hamilton is trying to get around him into turns 3 and 4, and it's just getting a little bit congested between Hamilton and Gasly. They're very close to one another, going wheel to wheel continually at this point. And wow. I told you a wild card for the weekend was Ocon. I wish my wild card for the weekend was Ocon. I wish my wild card for the weekend was Latifi. That would have been a hell of a shout. If your wild card for the weekend was Latifi. Wow. Baku, my race was the most dramatic of the year. Hungaroring is just absolutely blown it out of the water. Absolutely blown it out of the water. The Hungaroring has just decided we've had intermittent weather, we've had red flags, we've had drivers crashing into each other in turn 1, we've had Hamilton on the wrong tyres on the intermediates, and Verstappen is going to go around the outside of Mick Schumacher. Can Mick Schumacher close the door? Pushes Verstappen wide actually and keeps the place. But then down into turn 3, Mick Schumacher is doing a really good job trying to keep Verstappen behind him. Verstappen does manage to get through though in front of the Haas. And that pushes Mick Schumacher out of the points. It's very, very close between them, though, at this moment in time. Oof. Wow. Let's remember that this is what we started with. Pew. Absolutely insane. I think Mick Schumacher and Verstappen actually touch as they come through there. I think they do. Yeah, they do. Mick Schumacher and Verstappen actually touch wheels a tiny little bit there. Wow. Oh my goodness. Ooh, yeah, they do touch. They do touch. Mick Schumacher and Verstappen. Verstappen actually looks like he sort of bumps Mick Schumacher out of the way more than anything. Latifi holding up a train of cars behind him, most definitely. Latifi is holding everybody up at this moment in time. As Hamilton goes wide and loses a lot of time to Gasly in front of him. Kimi Räikkönen has got plus 10 seconds time penalty for an unsafe release. So it is going to be plus 10 seconds for Kimi Räikkönen for an unsafe release. Wow. Is the damage to Verstappen's car significant? Yes, it's fairly hefty, to be honest with you. He's got quite a lot of damage to the underfloor, a little bit to the side pod. There's quite a lot of damage to Verstappen's car. He took a big shunt. Like, Lando Norris hits into the side of him with a lot of force. I'm surprised he's even running, to be honest with you. I'm very impressed that the Red Bull guys were able to get Verstappen's car to a point where it is now in the race still. It was a big shunt between them. Although they are going to have a little look at the incident between Verstappen and Schumacher. Wow, imagine if Verstappen picks up a penalty for that move on Schumacher and has to go back to the bottom of the grid. Giovinazzi is currently running 14th, back of the pack. Kimi Räikkönen's got to obviously have that penalty, so he's going to go into the pits and serve that as well. So it's all gone wrong for Alfa Romeo. They picked up 2 penalties, 1 for each of their drivers. Lewis Hamilton looking at the back of Mick Schumacher and manages to make that happen. So Hamilton does get past Mick Schumacher up into 11th place. And Gasly then sitting in 10th, Verstappen in 9th. So our championship rivals are getting back towards the points, but it's still Ocon, Vettel, Latifi, Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, our top 5. Alonso in 6th, George Russell in 7th. That just makes me smile. Daniel Ricciardo in 8th, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Mick Schumacher, then Kimi and Antonio Giovinazzi are the last 2 drivers that are still running. Everybody else, Mazepin, Norris, Perez, Stroll, Leclerc, Bottas are out of the race. And Vettel is bearing down on Ocon. He's keeping with him. I think that's the thing. Vettel just needs to keep with Ocon. There's 70 laps of this race. It's a very long race, actually, the Hungaroring. And Vettel just needs to stay with Ocon. Doesn't need to do anything now. Doesn't need to pull out any crazy moves. Vettel doesn't need to go for like a win right now. He's got time. He's got the ability to stay behind Ocon and really think about where he should be. Really plan out his race. As Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race. So that does show that Hamilton really does have pace. Hamilton has got a lot of pace. Raikkonen with a very slow stop then, actually. I know, obviously, he had to stop for 10 seconds, but it's a slow stop after that as well, and it's a 17.3 second stop for Raikkonen. Ooh, that is not good at all. That is not good at all. Lando is indeed out of the race. Took a huge shunt from Bottas, to be fair. They would have had to do some magic on that McLaren if Lando was going to continue on. As they have done at Red Bull, it seems, because Verstappen is still in the race somehow. License points are going to be over the roof. I think people could be picking up a lot from this weekend. I think Bottas is going to pick up quite a few. Hamilton on the radio saying that he can't get close to people. Can't get close. Latifi still on the podium, though, and still with a gap of 1.6 seconds to Tsunoda behind him. So Latifi is just keeping it clean, keeping it mean in that Williams machine. He's just driving an absolutely exceptional race. I think Hammer's not pitting is the biggest faceplant in F1 history. I mean, it's definitely up there. How on earth he stayed out on those inters whilst everybody else on the whole grid went onto mediums and onto slicks. No idea. Here we go. Vettel actually within a second of Ocon now. So now is Vettel, getting towards where could be a pit stop in the next sort of 10 laps or so for the medium compound tyre. Lots of degradation on the front left of Vettel's wheel there. Wow. But he does push into DRS range. And now, can he actually get a little bit of a fight with Ocon? Imagine if Ocon and Vettel hit each other and knock each other out of this race. How gutted you would be if you're Alpine or Aston Martin. Imagine. Wow. George is the most beautiful human being alive. George is an angel of a man. I will have nothing said about George that is negative. He is wonderful. Ocon on the radio. Ocon, plan A +5. So he's still going for plan A in terms of his tyre strategy, but 5 laps later. So we're going to see these guys pit about 5 laps later than we would expect, obviously, because under the red flag, we had 4 laps. We had 3 laps before the red flag, and then obviously we had the formation lap as well before everybody pitted. So it makes sense that they're going 5 laps longer on these tyres than they would have normally expected to do. Hamilton, though, still down in 11th place and is really struggling behind Gasly. Cannot get anywhere near the back of that AlphaTauri. Mercedes radio, full wets. I mean, you might as well now. You might as well go for a risk if you're Hamilton. You are miles off of the pace at this point. Latifi, you've got to remember, is 12 seconds behind Vettel. So everybody is miles off of Ocon and Vettel. Miles off of Ocon and Vettel. It's a shame that this track really doesn't lend itself to overtaking, because it's going to cause bedlam in the pit stops, because everybody's going to have to try and go for the undercut. Everybody's going to have to try and go a little bit longer as Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits. Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits and goes for the harder compound tyre. I think he's just a bit pissed off at this point, right? Lewis Hamilton's just decided to come in early, change the tyres around. That's right, I'm going to set some fastest laps of this race. I'm just going to absolutely rattle with this Mercedes around the Hungary ring and see if he can undercut some people in the pit stops. Makes sense, but they're going to have to really go for it. Max Verstappen being told to give everything he can for this lap then. Wow. Let's see what happens here. It's going to be very interesting indeed to see where these guys come out, see where Max Verstappen comes out. Will he be in front or behind Lewis Hamilton still? Hamilton's got this lap to absolutely rattle as much of it as he can. Let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship just whilst we're thinking about these guys coming into the pit lane, because Verstappen still leads, and Hamilton does need 8 points if he's going to swing it in his favour moving into the summer break. So he does need to finish in front of Verstappen, and quite a way in front of Verstappen now. You're looking at the points the way that they are, because they are not going to be looking at finishing on the podium today, I don't think, in my opinion, unless they can get near Latifi, but that'll be a tough move. As Ricciardo comes into the pits, Verstappen comes into the pits too. So people are going early on these harder compound tyres. They're going for the hard compounds. They're going to go long on these hard compounds. Just keep the results we have right now, and this race is perfect. It is definitely one to talk about, one to write home about. Lewis Hamilton's coming down the pit lane, and he's going to get past Max Verstappen. Is he going to get past Daniel Ricciardo? Yes, he is. Hamilton has done that perfectly there. The undercut has worked immense for Lewis Hamilton there. The undercut has done him a dream of a job. Got him in front of Verstappen and Ricciardo as well. Couldn't have asked for more if you are Lewis Hamilton, to be honest with you. Exceptional choice from Mercedes there. Went for the undercut, went for the pit stop as early as they possibly could. And we've got to remember, Max Verstappen is still driving with damage. So it's going to be very close. If Max Verstappen can get anywhere near Hamilton, I think he'll take that at this point. I don't think he's going to catch Hamilton. Hamilton is driving like a banshee in this Hungary ring. That is one of the fastest laps you are going to see on a slippery surface, a not fully dry surface on hard compound tyres. That was a crazy lap from Lewis Hamilton, and being able to jump in front of Daniel Ricciardo is just the cherry on top of the ice cream for Lewis Hamilton, as he sets another fastest lap of the race and is now going to be looking at bearing down on George Russell. Oh, I think George Russell might have pitted as well. Carlos Sainz being told to box. And Carlos Sainz saying no. He is good. Ocon still first in this Grand Prix. Oh, you just saw the clip. Yeah, Lando didn't do anything wrong, but neither did Perez, neither did Verstappen, neither did Leclerc, and they're all out of this race. So, Verstappen's actually still in, sorry. Wow, Hamilton is 2 seconds faster than Gasly on that last lap. So if Gasly is going to come in, you'd imagine Hamilton is going to jump in front of him as well. Tsunoda is the first of the AlphaTauris to come in. Where is Tsunoda going to come out? You're going to imagine Tsunoda coming out just behind his teammate Gasly, in front of Mick Schumacher? Yes, he is indeed. Going to come out just in front of the Haas of Mick Schumacher as Hamilton sets another fastest lap of the race. Carlos Sainz being told to push. Can Carlos Sainz get in front of Tsunoda? Wow. Alpine and Aston Martin just waiting for one another to blink first. Is it going to be Ocon? Is it going to be Vettel? Who is going to go for the harder compound tyre first? As they come around the final corner, they're not going into the pit, so it's going to be at least another lap for Ocon and Vettel before they come in. Wow, this is exciting. Who is going to blink first? Alpine or Aston Martin? Oh, this is going to be interesting to see. As Lewis Hamilton now bears down on Mick Schumacher. Again, it is the Haas in front of the Mercedes driver. He needs to get past him again. And Vettel with DRS looking at the back of Ocon and actually getting very close indeed to the back of Ocon. Latifi has pit. Latifi has pit. Where is Latifi going to come out? He wants to be still in front of Tsunoda. Gasly goes past him. Latifi is in the pits. And Latifi's going to come out behind Tsunoda, I think. Yeah, he is indeed. Latifi comes out behind Tsunoda. So Tsunoda technically running in a podium position right now. Tsunoda is running in a podium position right now. That is mental. So Sainz is currently sitting in third, but has yet to have pitted. Of the guys who have pitted, Tsunoda is the fastest. So Tsunoda is currently in 6th place on track, but on 3rd place in terms of the guys who have pitted already. Wow. Latifi then in 4th technically, but is just in front of Lewis Hamilton in 8th as Hamilton gets past Mick Schumacher. Hamilton is on a screamer. By the way, when I said Hamilton is going to struggle to get onto the podium, I might have been lying because he's absolutely flying on this hard compound tyre. Hamilton is saying fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap and is seconds faster than anybody else on the track. Every single lap. Hamilton is insane. The skill that he is showing, we've got to remember, this is on like a dewy track. It is not dry, but it's not wet. Like, it's not perfect for slick tyres. Well, it probably is by now, to be fair. But still, you've got those greasy areas on the track. If you're going anywhere off the racing line, you're going into some greasy territory. And Hamilton sets another fastest lap of the race. He's just going faster every lap. A 120.6 from Hamilton. And he's just keeping it going. Goodness gracious. Imagine Lando is pin 1 and Bottas picked up the spare using Verstappen and Perez. Yeah, unfortunately so. Unfortunately so. Bottas did just decide to take a good 4 drivers out of the race there, to be honest with you. Himself, Perez, ruined Norris's race and also has put Verstappen in a very tricky place indeed. I'm surprised Verstappen's still going of the 4 drivers that were involved in that incident. Verstappen is still going. Please, Lord Latifi, hold Hamilton. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Lewis is absolutely flying on this hard compound. I think Lewis has found his tyre. He was going well on the mediums. He's going lipping amazing on this harder compound. Is Lewis Hamilton. He's now within a second of Latifi. And he's going to be thinking, well, he's going to want to try and get the undercut on Gasly. That was why he pitted, was to try and get ahead of Gasly. Gasly's yet to have pitted, running in 5th place. Here we go then. Ocon and Vettel still yet to blink. Neither of them wants to give anyone the opportunity to pit first, do they? Neither of them. Neither of them want to give away what they're doing. I think we could just see Ocon and Vettel not pit for the whole race. Because they just do not want to give anything away to the other one. Neither of them wants to pit. Here we go then. And Verstappen we're currently on board with behind Ricciardo. Behind Ricciardo in 11th place. Wow. I don't even know what to say anymore, guys. This race is just absolutely all over the place. Can Verstappen actually get in front of Ricciardo? He's been behind him for a little while now. Verstappen has pitted 4 times in this race, by the way. And we're 27 laps in. Goodness gracious me. George stays in the points. Looking very likely that George is going to stay in the points. He's just behind Mick Schumacher. But Mick Schumacher has yet to have stopped. So, looking like Russell, as Hamilton gets in front of Latifi. He's done it. He's got in front of the Williams. And the Latifi barrier has been dropped. He's going to charge back up towards Tsunoda now. Tsunoda is next along in the line that Hamilton has to get past. We've got a long way to go in this race. We're not even nearly halfway yet. We're not even nearly halfway yet. And Hamilton looks fired up. Hamilton looks flipping livid with the fact that his team let him out on the intermediate tyres. He should be leading this race. He should be winning this race by quite a comfortable margin. But instead, he's battling through drivers that he'd never even heard of before. Hamilton doesn't even know who Latifi is. He's never seen him on track. Hamilton now coming towards Tsunoda then. 1.5 seconds behind Tsunoda. He struggled to get past Gasly. Will he struggle to get past his teammate Tsunoda too? Let's have a little look. Red Bull can't do too much. Yeah, Red Bull couldn't do anything in terms of the scenario on lap 1. It just happened to them. You sometimes, like Lando couldn't do anything. Sometimes these things just happen to you in F1. It's not really your fault. Oh my God, Hamilton is already on the back of Tsunoda. Like, with a blink of an eye, it's been one lap, and now he's all over the back of Tsunoda. Crazy. Hamilton is just a different breed, isn't he? He's just absolutely flying around the track at this moment in time. Goodness gracious me. 28 laps in. Still 40-odd laps to go. 42 laps to go. Sebastian Vettel and Ocon still haven't pitted. Carlos Sainz still hasn't pitted. Alonso still hasn't pitted. Gasly still hasn't pitted. So everybody in the top 5 is due a pit stop fairly soon, you'd imagine. Can't imagine they'll go too long on these medium compound tyres. About 8 or 9 laps ago, Vettels were looking a little bit out of it. Hamilton on the radio asking what lap it is. Hamilton is so fast. That Mercedes is flying. He is absolutely electric. This is the Hamilton that you love, right? I'm not a Hamilton fan for the most part, to be honest with you. But this Hamilton is, you just can't argue that he is so fast. It's just ridiculous from Hamilton. The pure, unadulterated pace that Hamilton shows is insane. By the way, guys, we're on 66 likes for the stream. Madness. Absolute mental. Can we hit 70 likes on this stream? 70 likes before 70 laps. That is what we're aiming for. We need 4 more likes in the next 41 laps. 4 more likes in 41 laps. So get to it. Hit the like button. Let's see if we can do it. I've actually heard that if you hit the like button, Vettel will stay on the podium. So I've heard it. I've just heard it. You can't blame me. I'm just passing the news on to you. That is all I'm doing. I've heard Vettel will stay on the podium if you hit the like button. Can we get up to 70 likes for 70 laps? Don't know why I said it like that. Okay, where are we? Ocon is still in first place. Vettel in second. Carlos Sainz in third. Alonso fourth. Gasly fifth. But all 5 of those drivers have yet to pit. Tsunoda is in 6th and is getting absolutely pressure put on him by Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's got DRS and is staring at the back of Yuki Tsunoda in 6th place. Hamilton currently sits in 7th. Latifi is in 8th. Mick Schumacher 9th. Russell is in 10th, rounding out our points finishers. And then outside of the points, we've only got 4 drivers left in the race. We've got Ricciardo in 11th, Verstappen in 12th, Raikkonen and Giovinazzi in 13th and 14th, respectively. Goodness gracious me. And Verstappen really is not liking the back of this McLaren as they're gaining on the Williams and the Haas drivers in front of them. It's going to be a little bit annoying. He's probably going to hope if you're Verstappen, you're just hoping that Ricciardo can get through this Williams and Haas barrier. And then you can too, because Verstappen's just been staring at the back of Daniel Ricciardo for the longest of times. Lewis Hamilton, still the pressure on Yuki Tsunoda. Every single corner, he's just there. If you're Yuki Tsunoda, all you can see is Mercedes in your mirrors. You can't see anything else at this point. Who's in first place? Esteban Ocon, because of course he is. It's Esteban Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Alonso, Gasly, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Russell are top 10 at this moment in time. As Gasly comes into the pits, his tyres have more than had enough on the medium compound, and we're going on to the hard compound tyre for Gasly. Then a good stop. Where is he going to come out? Hopefully in front of Mick Schumacher. Yes, indeed he is. So Gasly comes out in 8th place there, just behind Latifi in 7th. And Gasly now is going to be looking at catching that Williams as fast as he can. Wow, so Gasly does stop, goes onto the harder compound. Mick Schumacher, by the way, stopped, but went onto the medium compound, I think. So has gone a different way. Everybody else is on the harder compound, apart from the 4 guys at the front that have yet to have stopped. Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Alonso, still going for it. Could we see Alonso on the podium this race as well? Crazy. Here we go then. Wow, that is a real train behind Mick Schumacher. Russell does not look happy that he is behind the Haas, because Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen are now bearing down on him. Ooh, and Lewis Hamilton, it looks like he's going to make a move on Yuki Tsunoda. Going to be close between the Mercedes and... Oh, it's going to be... What is it? It's going to be down into turn 1. Yep. He's got the DRS now. Down into turn 1. They're coming down the pit straight. Lewis Hamilton bearing at the back of Yuki Tsunoda. Is he going to make a move this lap? Looks at the inside. Not yet. Not yet. I thought he was going to go for it then, to be honest with you. Lewis Hamilton. Although he's still looking at him. Going through turn 2 and 3. Looks around the outside. He's going to come for the undercut. Possibly into turn 5. He's going to have another little look. Yeah, he's going to get him, isn't he? Hamilton moves right on Tsunoda as they go up the hill and makes the move stick. Great move from Hamilton there. Up the hill. Very risky, but a very good move from him. Very professionally done by Hamilton. Moves himself up into 5th place. And now he's got the hell of a task of catching the guys in front of him. He's got Alonso in front of him, but miles up the road. If you're Hamilton, you've got to put in some hella good lap times over the next 20 laps or so if you're going to be catching up to Alonso anytime soon. Although Alonso has got a pit. Alonso's got a pit, actually, hasn't he? Alonso has got to pit. So Alonso might come out behind Hamilton after he pits at this point. Hamilton is just flying in this Mercedes. Absolutely flying. You can just tell inside that helmet, he's thinking to himself, why on earth am I having to put in this much effort? I should be leading this race by a massive margin. I should be leading this race, and yet my team sent me out on intermediate tyres. And now he's looking down the barrel and having to chase Carlos Sainz and Alonso. Oh, has Sainz pitted? It looks like Sainz might have pitted, because Carlos Sainz has just dropped behind Fernando Alonso. Carlos Sainz has pitted, but still come out in 4th place. So Hamilton now 3 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. Alonso, his gap to Hamilton is only 20 seconds. I think Alonso is going to come out behind Lewis Hamilton. As George Russell makes a move on Mick Schumacher. Can he make it stick? Oh my goodness me. George Russell, what a move from you, my good friend. Down into turn 3 actually makes it stick. All the way around turn 2, he went on the outside. Goodness gracious me. George Russell. Aggressive. I love it. Gets past the Haas and up into 9th place on the track then for George Russell. Great move. Comes around turn 1, gets the DRS, knows that he's got the opportunity. Just goes round the outside into turn 2, does George Russell. and makes it stick. Gets it into turn 3, gets into turn 3 first, and just pinches Mick Schumacher out of it. Absolutely amazing stuff. He's got his elbows out. He's made sure Mick Schumacher knows he's there. Got into the corner first. And yeah, it's a great move from George Russell down into turn 2. Let's see then. Hamilton is now a second or so faster than Carlos Sainz every single lap. So he's going to be bearing down on that Ferrari very, very soon. As we're reaching just about the halfway point of this race, by the way, as Daniel Ricciardo now makes a move on Mick Schumacher down into turn 1. Can he keep it? Yes, he can. Daniel Ricciardo moves up into 10th place. And Verstappen looks around the outside of Mick Schumacher too. You got a feel for Mick. He's just falling down the order at speed at this point. Mick Schumacher in that Haas has no chance of keeping up with the likes of the McLaren, with the likes of the Red Bull. Oh. Hamilton is fighting for a podium. Here we go. Carlos Sainz then is the problem for Hamilton because Carlos Sainz is going to be on fresher tyres. Also, the Ferrari is not slow. So Hamilton's going to have to do something pretty special to get past Carlos Sainz. By the way, Alonso has yet to have pitted. And now at this point, Alonso is definitely going to come out behind Hamilton. So we're looking at a top 3 at this moment in time of Ocon, Vettel and Sainz being our podium sitters at this point today. I don't know if Ocon or Vettel are ever going to pit. Ever going to pit at this point. They've gone for something. They've gone so long on these medium compounds. I was saying, like, around lap 2021, that Vettel's tyres were looking a little bit shaky. There was a lot of degradation on the front left of Vettel's car. And now he's kept going. Another 16 laps later, he's still going. Here we go then. They've got to pit soon, Vettel and Ocon. Vettel is losing time to Ocon too, by the way. Vettel's now 2.5 seconds behind Ocon. He was within DRS for quite a long time. But Vettel now losing quite a bit of time too. Let's see. It's got to be this. It's got to be before lap 40. Like Vettel and Ocon have got to. They can't go 40 laps or 35 laps. It would be on these medium compounds. That would be absolutely mental from them. But they're clearly going for like a one-stop strategy, right? Or like a what's actually become like a 4-stop strategy, but a little bit insane. Here we go then. Hamilton's still going absolutely 100% at the back of this Ferrari. Got to remember, Carlos Sainz is on much, much fresher tyres than Hamilton at this point. And Hamilton's also overtaken so many of the drivers behind him. Like, you expect these tyres to maybe be falling off a little bit at this point, but Hamilton's still going at Carlos Sainz. It's still catching him at a rapid rate of knots. This race has been the best of the season so far. It's definitely been the most entertaining as Vettel pits. Lap 37 then. Vettel has come into the pits, and it is the harder compound tyre. I think they're probably going to try and go to the end of the race then with that. It's a 3.3 second stop for Vettel. Alonso is the only driver that will go past him, but again, Alonso yet to have pitted. So both Alpines yet to have pitted then, and both Alpines currently running 1 and 2. Carlos Sainz is not too far behind Vettel, actually 5 seconds behind Vettel now. So Carlos Sainz is probably going to be thinking about pushing towards Vettel and getting higher up on this podium. You're going to assume that Alonso is going to stop soon-ish. Same as Ocon. Ocon's tyres have got to be leaning towards the ugly side. Dear, oh dear. Alpine 1 and 2, what reality is this? It is absolutely backwards world. I said that the Alpines looked good this race. I didn't think they looked this good. I didn't think they were 1-2 good. Oh, and Ocon is going to be coming in then, I assume. Yes, it is indeed Ocon coming in. Could have been either of the Alpines. They both need a stop at some point fairly soon. Ocon is fairly slow into the pits. Maybe he's just taking it a little bit, careful, making sure that there was no issues there. Is he going to come out ahead of Vettel? Yes. Just. Let's see. Down into turn 1. Just, by the way. Vettel is very close indeed. Now he's got an opportunity, though, Vettel. Vettel has got a real opportunity to get past Esteban Ocon here as he tries to warm up these tyres. And Sebastian Vettel's not going to let it slip. He's going to go up towards turn 4. Oh, my goodness. Vettel is all over the back. Oh, my goodness. Ocon is going to have to deal with this pressure from Vettel for a lap or two. This is insane. This is some incredible driving that we're seeing from Esteban Ocon. Let's not sort of shy away from that. But also Sebastian Vettel all over the back of the Alpine. Won't want to ruin these tyres too much, but does want to get a win under his belt at Aston Martin, I'm sure. And Vettel is staring at the back of Ocon still. Within a second of him, he's going to get DRS down into turn 1 as well. Unless Esteban Ocon can pull out something insane in these last few corners. Let's see then. Hamilton on the radio saying that these tyres are coming to the end of their life cycle. I did think so. You know, Sainz is going to be on much fresher tyres. DRS it is for Vettel as he comes down the pit straight then. Vettel flying at Esteban Ocon. Gets DRS. Is he going to be anywhere near him into turn 1? Not quite. But he does get a little bit more DRS. If he can get a good corner out of turn 1. No, it's not going to be for Esteban Ocon and Sebastian Vettel. They're not going to go wheel to wheel. Esteban Ocon fairly comfortably ahead into turns 3 and 4 then. Wow. And Esteban Ocon can breathe a sigh of relief. I really thought that Vettel was going to get him then. Alonso asking about tyres, asking when he can come into pit. Needs to pit fairly soon. He is still going to come out in front of Tsunoda, I think, in terms of where he is on track. Tsunoda really not going very quickly at all. Hamilton has slowed down quite a bit. I think the tyres are a little bit shot to bits, to be honest with you. He's done a lot of overtaking on those harder compound tyres, a lot of very fast laps on those hard compound tyres, and Hamilton has pushed them to the absolute limit of their ability. It's the problem for Hamilton is if he pits, he's going to come out back behind Yuki Tsunoda, and possibly even behind Latifi as well. And that's going to really, you know, cause him some issues. He's going to have to get past Tsunoda again, possibly past Latifi again. And, you know, you'd expect him to be able to do so, but again, it just costs him that little bit of extra time. And when he's, you know, trying to get back towards those podium positions, going to be very tricky for him indeed. As Alonso is going to come into the pits, where is Alonso going to come out? In front of Yuki Tsunoda. So Alpine are currently running P1 and P5. What is happening? This is madness. This has just thrown the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships for an absolute spin. Ooh. Yeah, Verstappen driving with a broken car, unfortunately, is Verstappen. So Verstappen is not looking like he's going to be able to make it work for himself. He's not looking like he is going to get up into the points. He is driving a broken car, and he'll stick in it. He'll keep going. But I think if Verstappen retired at this point, it wouldn't be too bad for him. Like, he's not going to happen for him. Oh, we're on board with Pierre Gasly. What's happening down in 7th place then? Oh, and gets past Latifi. Gasly, good job. Gasly gets past Latifi. Excellent move from Gasly. Wonderful driving from him in the AlphaTauri. But Alpine are the ones to watch, because Alpine look like they could go up to 5th in the Constructors' Championship. And Ocon looks like he could go all the way to even points with Gasly. Imagine being Gasly at this point. You've had such a good start to the season. Ocon's had a really mixed start, and yet you're going to be on equal points going into the summer break if you can't get points. I mean, Gasly is going to get points. He's going to get 6 points at this moment in time. He's currently running in 7th place. but at the same time, gotta be annoyed. This race on Drive to Survive is going to be something special. This is going to be like, this could be a couple of episodes on it in and of its own, to be honest. Like the Silverstone incident followed up by this is, if you're Netflix, you are just rubbing your hands together. You are loving life at this point. As Verstappen comes in for some medium compound tyres. We have got 29 laps left to go. Possibly could go the whole race on those medium compound tyres. I think that's probably the last stop that we'll see for Verstappen. Possibly his 5th or 6th stop of the race, something ridiculous like that. So, going to be interesting to see. Was there any damage from Silverstone? I think there was damage, but I think they were able to change up the parts that don't come under any of the restrictions in terms of Verstappen's car. I think most of the problems that Verstappen's having right now is the damage that he's got to his car right now, because he's got underfloor missing, side pod parts missing, aero all over the place. Really can't seem to get it to work for him, can he, Verstappen? He is currently running 12th, though. Luckily, I guess, for Verstappen, there's 6 drivers out of this race, and therefore he's edging ever closer to being able to get some points. Maybe if a couple of drivers have an incident. Tricky. Sebastian Vettel goes really deep into turn 1 and puts a flat spot on his tyres. Not a happy bunny if you're a Vettel fan looking at that. Unfortunate for him there. Wow. Carlos Sainz currently complaining about the helicopter creating turbulence for the drivers. To be fair, why on earth have they got a helicopter above the track? Yes, like it makes some good camera angles. But do we need it when it absolutely could mess up someone's race if it flies over them and ruins their aero? I'm kind of with Carlos Sainz on this. We don't need a helicopter like on the circuit. Just far away. Here we go then. Hamilton on the radio saying that his tyres are not quite where he'd like them to be at this point. So Hamilton, 4th place at the moment, is still 1 second behind Carlos Sainz, but is on tyres that are much, much, much older. I think the thing with Hamilton here is if he does pit, he's going to want to come out in front of Yuki Tsunoda if he can. Doesn't want to lose out to Yuki Tsunoda, as Alonso sets the fastest lap of the race. So I think if Hamilton does pit, he's going to want to come out between Alonso and Tsunoda if he can. It's going to give him the best opportunity too, because Alonso is gaining on Hamilton, and Alonso looking like he could be within striking distance of Hamilton according to these graphics in 8 laps. So we could see Alonso getting close to Hamilton in 8 laps or so. So will Hamilton take this opportunity now to pit? When does he blink? Because he's going to need another set of tyres. He can't go on these hards all the way to the end. It is not going to be one of those races, unfortunately, for Hamilton where he can just, rinse these tyres and still go to the end on them. The hard compound tyre, not as durable as maybe some harder compound tyres in previous years. Nico Rosberg talking about Lewis Hamilton and the fact that Lewis Hamilton will not be happy that these tyres are going off. He is going to want some new tyres ASAP. But needs to maybe wait just another couple of laps because he really needs to come out in front of Tsunoda. Ooh. Oh. Hamilton come on the radio and saying that the tyres are back to being good. Maybe the track has just come towards Hamilton a little bit. And he's happy on the tyres now. Hamilton has suddenly turned around. Maybe he's found a little bit of a balance change, or maybe the track has just come towards the tyres a little bit for Hamilton. He's been able to get the heat back into them properly. But 25 laps on these harder compound tyres, and now they're coming back into fruition for Hamilton. He's going to be looking at Carlos Sainz. He's getting back into within a second of Carlos Sainz. We're going to see DRS from Hamilton in the next race, lap or two. No one expected this race. This is absolutely wild. You are spot on. It's going to go down as a classic of Formula One. It is absolutely wild. We're seeing Lewis Hamilton put in some lap times from the gods. We're seeing Alonso drive the absolute socks off an Alpine. We're seeing Ocon and Vettel battling for P1 in an Alpine and an Aston Martin. We're seeing Latifi and Russell both in the points. We're seeing Tsunoda in front of Gasly. Are there going to be team orders there? Because Gasly is gaining on Tsunoda like a madman at this point. Will they let Gasly go? Is there 24 laps that are left enough for Gasly to maybe catch up to the guys in front of him? Possibly. Let's see if Tsunoda lets Gasly past. Russell is gaining on Latifi slightly, but not really. I think Latifi is probably going to be the one of the Williams drivers that comes out best from this race. Ricciardo, currently in 10th position as well, is going to be the last of the people to pick up points. Was looking like Mick Schumacher could have picked up points at one point. Doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. 13th now, and only Giovinazzi behind him, and it looks like Giovinazzi might catch up to Mick Schumacher fairly soon, actually. So the Haas dream of picking up a point has dwindled, unfortunately. Although Latifi and Russell could pick up a chunk of points here and jump themselves up into 8th place in the Constructors' title. Not something that I was expecting to see. I was talking before the race about how Alfa Romeo were probably looking to consolidate that 8th place, maybe pick up one more point today. Now it's looking like the complete opposite is going to happen. It looks like Williams are going to be able to jump up in front of Alfa Romeo in terms of the Constructors, which is amazing for Williams, by the way. Absolutely sensational for them. If they can just bring both cars home where they are at this moment in time, as Daniel Ricciardo is catching up to George Russell, but we've seen that Daniel Ricciardo cannot get past George Russell for his life, so I'm not very worried about George Russell losing that place at this moment in time. As Hamilton continues to gain on Sainz, isn't within DRS though. That lap does not get within the 1 second buffer that you need for DRS, so Hamilton will go around again behind Sainz. Can he catch up this lap? And Alonso, by the way, has set another fastest lap of the race. He is catching Lewis Hamilton by about 0.5 of a second every single lap. Wow. Wow. So Hamilton, if he does pit, is going to come out miles behind Alonso at this point. Vettel will try to launch one up the inside at some point. Most definitely so. He's within a second of Ocon. He does get the DRS sort of every other lap or so. There's a good battle between Ocon and Vettel, and they're now coming up to some back markers, it looks like. They are indeed. So Ocon is going to have to get through he's going to have to get through Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher. Here we go then. Ocon needs to get through these back markers. As Hamilton comes into the pits, Hamilton has decided to pit with 22 laps to go. They're obviously Mercedes thinking about a different strategy now. And the medium compound tyres are going to go onto the Mercedes car. So he's got 22 laps and he needs to come out in front of Tsunoda. And he is going to come out in front of Tsunoda. So Hamilton comes out in 5th place then. Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Alonso, Hamilton make up our top 5. Tsunoda, Gasly, Latifi, Russell, and Ricciardo are the next 5 that make up our top 10 and our points finishers. Our 4 drivers that are outside the points: Raikkonen, Verstappen, Mick Schumacher in 13th, and Giovinazzi rounds out the cars still running. Remember, Mazepin, Norris, Perez, Stroll, Leclerc, and Bottas all out of this race. 6 cars completely out of this race at this moment in time. As the Alpines look incredibly quick. Vettel, though, bearing down on Ocon. Hamilton being told to just absolutely leather it all the way to the end of the race. Let's see then, what can he do in that Mercedes with the medium compound tyres on. No full wets for Lewis. No intermediates for Lewis. Although imagine if there was some rain now, it would really put a cat amongst the pigeons. As Giovinazzi has to get out of the way. And Ocon. Oh my goodness me. Vettel, cheeky little Vettel, realizes that Ocon has to try and get past Giovinazzi. And obviously takes the opportunity whilst Ocon is not really, or it's Ocon's paying attention to Giovinazzi on the outside of him. Tries to sneak up the inside to Vettel. He's a wily old fox. And Ocon is going to have to be very careful indeed with Vettel just behind him. Gasly on the radio. They're swapping drivers. They are indeed looking at turn 1, swapping Gasly and Tsunoda. So Gasly's going to take 6th place. And Tsunoda is going to drop down into 7th place. Here we go. Sebastian Vettel, 0.25 of a second faster than Ocon last lap. Is going to be within DRS this lap, I think. Is about 0.8 behind Ocon at this moment in time. Needs to just keep it there if he can. They're going to be catching up to Mick Schumacher too very soon. And when they catch up to Mick Schumacher, they're again going to have a blue flag situation. Vettel tried to leap up the inside under the blue flags then. Will he try and do the same once they catch Mick Schumacher? He is just such a professional as Sebastian Vettel. You can tell the 4-time world champion is thinking of every single opportunity that he can do and take to get in front of that Alpine that is in front of him. As we go, 20 laps to go in this race. Hamilton sets a fastest lap of the race. Here we go. Hamilton being told on the radio, 4 cars to overtake for the win. P5 at the moment, 4 cars to overtake if he wants to win this race. He's currently 11 seconds behind Alonso, but is absolutely tearing up the track in front of him. He's going to catch up to Alonso in 3 laps. He's 10 seconds behind, and he's going to catch up to him in 3 laps. This is absolute insanity from Lewis Hamilton. He's throwing laps together like a madman. Lewis Hamilton was 3.7 seconds faster than Ocon in that last lap. A fresh medium compound tyre for Hamilton. He is flying around now. It's so tricky to overtake, but Hamilton has got an incredible amount of speed in comparison to everybody else. An insane amount of speed compared to everybody else. We are flying. Talking about flying, the stream is absolutely flying. We've hit 80 likes for today. Thank you everybody who is watching and everybody following along at home with myself. What a race we are seeing. More than worthy of 80 likes. I think that might even be a channel record for the streams. Wonderful to see. If you could hit subscribe, if you could hit like, that would be absolutely phenomenal as we move into the last few laps of this race. Max Verstappen makes a move on Kimi Räikkönen. Verstappen up into 11th place. So Verstappen just hoping now that somebody has an issue. Somebody hits into one another and somebody causes him to gain at least a point here, because Verstappen currently running in 11th place. Let's see then what we can do over the course of these last 19 laps. Vettel still staring at the back of Ocon. Carlos Sainz has managed to get past Giovinazzi. So has Alonso. This is the thing with Hamilton, though. Hamilton, if he's going to overtake, does also need to get past all these back markers as well. So he's going to have to push through Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, to get round to the leaders. Oh. Vettel is being told on the radio that Ocon is holding him up. Wow. By the way, Alonso is staring at the back of Sainz as well. There is so much going on track at this moment in time. Vettel is staring at the back of Ocon. Alonso is staring at the back of Sainz. Hamilton is flying around like an absolute man on a mission in the top 5. Gasly has just got himself up into 6th place and is also screaming away from Tsunoda. It's going to be an easy 6th place for Gasly in the end. Latifi and Russell are both still running incredibly well in the points. Latifi an easy 8th place at this point, is about 20 seconds ahead of Russell. Russell just keeping it ahead of Ricciardo. Ricciardo about 2 seconds behind Russell. Just needs to keep it there if he can. My goodness me, there's so much drama. Gonna need a nap. I'm gonna need to just fall asleep for a good 3 weeks and wake me up when we're back with Formula One, because this is what I need. Inject this into my veins. Absolutely amazing stuff. Lewis has basically been doing qualifying laps for 70 laps. He has. He's absolutely flying out there. He's now only 4 seconds behind Alonso 3 laps later. Insane stuff. And you got to remember, Alonso and Sainz having a little bit of a battle as well, so that's going to cost them some time. Alonso staring at the back of Carlos Sainz, within DRS of Carlos Sainz as well, by the way. So Alonso is now pushing it with DRS. The Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Absolutely mania out there. Let's have a look at my predictions, because let's just have a little laugh at these, shall we? I said Hamilton on the podium, could still happen. Verstappen winner, not a chance whatsoever. Norris, unfortunately, is out of the race. He's not going to get a podium to round out this wonderful start to the season that he's been having. I said Sainz top 5, and yesterday in qualifying, it was not looking like it was going to happen. Now, actually, of these predictions, probably the one that's most likely to happen. And Alonso in the top 10, you could also argue very, very likely to happen indeed. Gasly's my wild card, and Gasly has come through for me in 6th place indeed. What a wonderful race we're seeing here. Let's have a little look at the race board at this moment in time. It's Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Alonso, Lewis Hamilton in 5th place. Just screaming along at this point in time, Hamilton doing everything he can. Goodness gracious me. Pierre Gasly, Tsunoda, Latifi, George Russell, and Daniel Ricciardo rounds out our top 10, with Max Verstappen bearing down actually on the McLaren. Whew. When am I planning to drop the video where you try to build your own Formula One team? Oh, over the break. The summer break is going to be a lot of videos, because obviously we're not going to have any live streams whatsoever. Lots of videos coming for you guys over the summer break. That's why you should make sure you hit subscribe right now so you don't miss any of those videos coming up over the summer break. Lots of them being worked on. Going to put the finishing touches to a couple tomorrow. Obviously, I'm going to have to do a race review of what we've seen today, and it's not even over yet, and there's already about 40 minutes worth of content that I need to talk about. So whittling this race down to a few bullet points is going to be very tricky indeed. Ocon and Vettel still lead this race. Carlos Sainz, 3rd place. He is battling with Alonso, and they're going to be very unhappy to see Hamilton in their rear wing mirrors as well. Hamilton is now gaining on Alonso like a madman, and the 3 of them are now in a nice little train. We've got Sainz, Alonso, and Hamilton, all 3 of them within a couple of seconds of each other. Oh. Yuki Tsunoda on the radio asking if Pierre can go a little bit quicker to try and get him into some cleaner air. Wow. Kimi Räikkönen coming out of the pits causing issues. Hamilton and Alonso going side to side. Hamilton's going to come around the outside of him in turn 2. Oh my god, it's going to come back up on the inside. But remember, Alonso is a wall of a man. Alonso is so tricky to get past. And Hamilton going to go around the outside again. Doesn't quite make it stick. So close between these guys. The Drivers' Championship is just gone to absolute bedlam, hasn't it? Remember, this is what we were looking at when we finished the red flag situation. And now we're looking at Ocon and Vettel. They've managed to stick themselves around about where I'd expect them to be. Carlos Sainz has also managed to get back where he's supposed to be. Yuki Tsunoda's dropped quite a few places. Latifi's dropped quite a few places. Alonso's been able to capitalise and jump quite a few spaces forward as well. Gasly also has been able to capitalise and get back in front of his teammate Tsunoda after the red flag. Goodness gracious me. Hamilton has to be the driver of the day for me. It's just been electric. I know he made the mistake maybe not coming into the pits and going out on the inters. But since then, absolutely just wow. Like, I'm stunned by Lewis Hamilton at this point. Just cannot understand how he's been able to be so quick for so long in this race. Absolutely incredible stuff happening. And here we go then. Hamilton having another look at Alonso. Another look at the back of the Alpine. Going to need to make a move stick fairly soon. Carlos Sainz has been very happy indeed that those two have been battling with one another. It's been able to give him a little chance to get a couple of seconds ahead. So Carlos Sainz is now out of DRS range of Alonso. That's not good for Alonso because Hamilton most definitely is in DRS range of Alonso. Hamilton going like a madman, by the way. So Hamilton at this moment in time would pick up 8 points, right? Is that 8 points for finishing 5th? So if he finishes 5th, they're going to be on the same points as Verstappen going into the summer break. My goodness me, this is just amazing stuff from Formula One this season. Every single race has had its talking points. You'd say apart from Monaco, every single race has had incidents on the track that have been worthy of talking about. As Hamilton beams towards the Alpine, is he going to look around the outside into turn 1? Has a little look, but doesn't quite commit to it, but does get DRS down into turn 2 as well. He's going to go around the outside again into turn 2, this time a little bit faster. Alonso looks like he might have touched actually with Hamilton there as he pushes him out onto the outside. Alonso is just a wall of a car. And Hamilton's got the pace, but Alonso is just forcing Hamilton. My goodness me. If these two don't touch, I'll be very, very surprised. Hamilton is getting alongside the Alpine. And every single time, Alonso is just closing the door on Hamilton as quickly as he possibly can. Goodness gracious me. Why did it say qualifying? Because I haven't taken it down. I usually show the qualifying grid there, but after the red flag, I changed it up so that people could understand the carnage that the red flag had actually caused us towards the beginning of this start of the race. Yeah. So apologies. Yeah, I hadn't changed it from saying qualifying. I can do this, actually. This one? There you go. just hide that for you. 8 points is for 6th. Oh, yes, it is. So Hamilton would get 10 points. Hamilton, 10 points. Let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship. That would take him 2 points ahead of Verstappen. He's also looking like he's going to get the fastest lap of the race fairly easily. So that's also going to be another point for Hamilton moving into the summer break. And Hamilton is going to be leading the Drivers' Championship by a tiny, tiny margin. Max Verstappen ruining the 50 points that he's lost over the course of this first half of the season. The 25 that he lost in Baku. Could have pitted earlier. Obviously, not his fault, actually, because the tyre just popped and nothing he could do. And then Silverstone as well, where he had that collision with Hamilton. Could he have just backed out, taken second place, taken the 18 points? Again, tricky to say. Hamilton, though, still bearing down on Alonso. Just can't seem to get past him. We haven't seen Ocon and Vettel in a little while. Still looks like Vettel is in second and maybe biding his time a little bit as to when to go and fight with Ocon. Wow. Amazing stuff from the guys. I can't even bring into words how this race has just been bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Yeah, it's 11 points for Hamilton at this moment in time if he stays where he is. But he is staring at the back of the Alpine and doing everything in his power that he can. Yeah, of course, they do always go up. They're always in the playlist section on the channel. So I sometimes hide them from like the video list just because they look a bit out of place. But I will leave it up for you. I will leave up the live streams. I think what I'm going to do is just leave up the race live stream until the next race weekend. And then it gives people an opportunity to watch it after the fact. But I appreciate that, man, that you go back and watch it a little bit afterwards. IK comes in with the Alonso. He is holding on for dear life as Alonso in 4th place. Hamilton doing everything that he can to try and get past him. He's still got 11 laps of this, by the way. Got 11 laps of Alonso versus Hamilton, although Hamilton will start to suffer in the dirty air of Alonso. Will start to have a lot of tyre degradation behind Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz as well. Don't forget, it's only sort of a second or so down the road from Alonso, so it's a lot of dirty air for Hamilton at this moment in time. Needs to get past Alonso if he can. He's much, much closer to Alonso this time around. Is he going to have a look into turn 1? Doesn't look like it. Is he going to have a look into turn 2? Not quite either, I don't think. Doesn't have the pace to get up alongside the Alpine. Starts wiggling around, does Hamilton, trying to send Alonso one way or another. But Alonso is an absolute wall of a car. We've seen it in so many races this season so far that Alonso just does hold up the pack, doesn't he? Nobody can ever really seem to get past Alonso. It takes a lot to get past Fernando Alonso. He is a very experienced driver. He knows exactly where to position his car when defending. And he's giving Hamilton a real headache at this point as we move into the last 10 laps of the race. We still have Ocon, Vettel, Carlos Sainz as our top 3. Alonso 4th, Hamilton 5th, Gasly in 6th, Yuki Tsunoda in 7th after the AlphaTauri guys did that little switcheroo with their 2 drivers. Hamilton saying that Alonso is all over the place. Alonso does anything and everything he can to keep himself in front. Sainz driver of the day, I like it. Ocon driver of the day, by a margin. Hamilton driver of the day, wouldn't argue with that. Latifi driver of the day, wouldn't argue with that. Russell driver of the day. Oh, Verstappen is up into the points. Verstappen is up into the points. 10th place for Verstappen at this moment in time. Wowee-woo-ah. Wow. Who is going to win driver of the day? Just have no idea. Dun, dun, dun. Right, let's try and put this together for you guys. So Norris I can write down because he is out. Okay. Mazepin I can write down because he is out. Here we go then. Giovinazzi is probably going to finish last, right? Mick Schumacher. Ocon, Vettel could go either way. Carlos Sainz could end up 3rd or 5th at this point. Bottas should be driver of the day. He definitely tried to do his teammate a favour, but not quite sure it's optimal driving from Bottas over the course of the day. Vettel driver of the day. It's going to be very close. Who should we put down? Should we can do it on the community tab for the stream. Let's have a look. A vote for a driver of the day. I can put a maximum of 5 drivers in. And I'm pretty sure that more than 5 drivers possibly deserve to be in the talk for driver of the day. Oh, and Hamilton has another look. Another look. Right, community tab. Who is your driver of the day in Hungary? Who should we put? Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Hamilton, and Gasly's been so good. I'm going to put Latifi because that Williams is miles away from where it should be. There you go, guys. If you want to have a little vote on who the driver of the day for the channel is, head over to the community tab, get your votes in right now for who the driver of the day is in Hungary. Did I spell Hungary right? Yes. I always worry that it's going to autocorrect to Hungary. Oh my goodness me. Hamilton is closer and closer still to Alonso. And Hamilton's going to go around the outside. He's alongside. Going to cut inside, maybe. Oh, my goodness me. It's going to carry on up the hill. Hamilton got a massive toe. Oh, my God. I think they touched. I think they touched again. I think they touched again. How is Alonso keeping Hamilton behind him, man? Absolutely crazy stuff from Alonso. Maybe I should have put Alonso in for the driver of the day. Maybe over Sainz. My goodness me. But yeah, get over to the community tab. We'll have a look at the end of the race who manages to come out on top in terms of your guys' votes for driver of the day. Currently coming in, we've got a couple of votes for Ocon, a couple of votes for Hamilton, and a vote for Latifi as well. So let's see. Get involved. Get on the community tab as quickly as you can. Make sure your vote goes in for driver of the day. Hamilton on the radio complaining again about Alonso. He is very... It's so close to on the line, over the line with Alonso, isn't it? He does anything and everything to keep Hamilton behind. But at the same time, like, when is the line? He does leave a car's width. But so incredibly good on the defense, isn't he? By the way, Vettel is now within 0.6 of Ocon. He's turned it back on again. I knew that I knew that Vettel would be waiting for an opportunity to pounce. And here we go. Hamilton and Alonso. Remember, we're teammates at McLaren at one point. What was that? 2007? 2008? Something along those lines. And Hamilton's done an amazing, amazing job, Binary. You are absolutely spot on. But he is now really struggling to keep in front of Alonso. Alonso and Hamilton just going toe-to-toe. It's beautiful to see. This is wheel-to-wheel driving at its finest. An incredible defensive driver against an incredible offensive driver in Hamilton. And DRS again. Down into turn one again. Hamilton closer and closer to the Alpine. Decides to back off. But Alonso locks up. Hamilton's going to go up the inside. And they're going to go toe-to-toe into turn two. And Hamilton has managed to make it stick. Hamilton has finally done it. He has got past the Great Wall of Alonso, as you put it. Wonderful stuff in the chat there. Love that. Absolutely amazing. Vettel now is the one we need to look at. Vettel staring at the back of Ocon. Has been behind him for the whole race. Ocon's done an incredible job, by the way. Ocon has driven exceptionally well under the pressure of being first. You know, when you're first on the grid, the pressure on you is insane because you can only go backwards. So this is the way. Hamilton then is past Alonso. Does Hamilton have time to have a go at Sainz? He's got 5 laps. And as I say that, it cuts back to Hamilton, who is already underneath Carlos Sainz's gearbox. He is absolutely flying behind Carlos Sainz. Will Hamilton get onto the podium today if he can get past Carlos Sainz? Let's see. Hamilton has DRS, has fresher tyres, is on the medium compound. Hamilton decides to go wider in turn one. He's going to get a run down at him into turn two. It's a good tactic from Hamilton. Gets down on the pedal faster. And Carlos Sainz, some good defending there as well down into turn two. But Hamilton's going to keep going at him. Going to keep going all the time at Carlos Sainz. There's the problem with Hamilton. Once he is behind you, he just does not let up. He will not give you a second of space. Hamilton is he's just so good around Hungary, isn't he? You really can't argue that Hamilton absolutely flies around Hungary and just makes it look easy at points. Crazy stuff. By the way, there is a McLaren as well, just in front of Carlos Sainz. Goodness gracious me. Jake Williams. Amazing job of being let past by drivers. I wouldn't say that. He's just done an exceptional job trying to get past Alonso. Where were we? I was writing down the grid, but I feel like it could just change at any moment. Hamilton does get past Ricciardo and does get past Carlos Sainz too at the same time. Goodness gracious me. Hamilton is on an absolute screamer of a lap into the podium places. Carlos Sainz is coming back at him though into turn 2. Carlos Sainz on the inside. Can't quite make it happen. Wow. Goodness gracious me. By the way, both Williams cars are still running in the points. Both Williams cars are still running in the points. And it looks like it is going to be a very, very good day for the Williams drivers. Hamilton is indeed now up into 3rd place. Ooh. Yeah, Carlos Sainz not very happy about it. Annoyed that Daniel Ricciardo was sort of in the way a little bit. Not really. I don't think you can argue that too much, to be honest. So now we're looking at Alonso and Sainz having a little battle towards the end of the Grand Prix. Where are we? Ocon is still first. And Vettel is second. My goodness me. Lewis is my god. Hamilton, he is I don't know. I feel like the defense from Alonso, he's just trying to do anything and everything, right? If Alonso would have picked up a penalty, makes life easier for Hamilton. If Alonso would have had to let Hamilton through, that is the way. Just trying to do everything that he can in his power. Hamilton then is going to finish 3rd in this Grand Prix. We're looking at Carlos Sainz and Alonso battling one another for 4th place. Gasly's going to finish 6th. Tsunoda 7th. Latifi 8th. Russell 9th. Verstappen in 10th at this moment in time. And then Raikkonen miles down the road in 11th place. Oh, Raikkonen's ahead of Ricciardo. Oops. I wrote those the other way around. Mick Schumacher 13th, Giovinazzi 14th. Giovinazzi might have a little run at Mick Schumacher over the last few laps. Wow. Esteban Ocon still P1. Such an exceptional drive from Esteban Ocon. Such an exceptional drive from Esteban Ocon. Staying in 1st place. Hamilton 5.2 seconds off of Vettel with 2 laps to go. Could he gain that? I don't think so. But I mean, you wouldn't say never with Hamilton in this track. It does just seem like Hamilton on the Hungaroring can do the impossible. Hamilton is absolutely electric here, and has shown again why he's possibly the greatest of all time. Absolutely one of the best drivers we are ever going to see. It's so hard to pick a driver of the day. Ocon winning a race, Vettel on a podium, Hamilton driving from last to 3rd, Sainz getting the absolute most of that of Ferrari, Alonso driving like a god, building a wall in front of Hamilton for the longest time. Latifi and Russell both in the points. There's so many drivers here today that have just absolutely worked their socks off. Here we go then. The final lap. Here we go. Ocon still leading this race. Vettel still in 2nd place and is about 1.5 seconds off of Ocon. It's not going to be Vettel's day. I don't think Vettel's going to be able to put together an opportunity to try and pass Ocon. It's going to be Ocon for the win for me today. Hamilton in 3rd place also gets the fastest lap, remember, which is another point. Those points count for everything at the end of the season. Sainz in 4th place. Alonso 5th place. Gasly is going to come home in 6th. Tsunoda 7th. Latifi 8th. Russell 9th. Both of the Williams in the points. And it's Latifi who comes out on top of the 2 Williams drivers. Nobody would have had that written down. Absolutely sensational stuff from the drivers today. What a race. This is what Formula One needs, wants, is. It's beautiful to see. Absolutely sensational stuff. Lewis Hamilton actually now only within a second of Vettel. If this race was like another 5 laps, I think Hamilton wins it. Absolutely insane to say. As Ocon comes around the final corner, got to absolutely take your hat off to Ocon. What a race. What a drive from Ocon. Phenomenal stuff from the Alpine driver. And Vettel comes home in second as well. Don't underplay this. Ocon has just won a Grand Prix in an Alpine car. French driver in a French car with a French engine. He is flying today. Ocon becomes the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Vettel comes home in second place. It's Hamilton third, Sainz fourth. Let's have a look. Alonso fifth. Gasly's going to come home in sixth place. Tsunoda seventh. Latifi and Russell both in the points. Latifi eighth. Russell ninth. Verstappen gets 1 point. One solemn point for Verstappen down in 10th place. It was worth staying on track just for that 1 point. Raikkonen comes home in 11th. Ricciardo 12th. Mick Schumacher 13th. Giovinazzi 14th. Mazepin, Norris, Bottas, Perez, Stroll, Leclerc are drivers that were out by the end of the race, most of which were out after just 3 laps. So very, very close between all the guys in there. Williams on points. Absolutely mesmeric stuff. Mick Schumacher with a 13th place finish is exceptional for him too. Verstappen getting a point, by the way, does make this just a little bit more interesting. Wow. Wow. What an amazing, amazing race. Great day if you're an Ocon fan. Great day if you're a Vettel fan. A phenomenal drive if you're a Hamilton fan. If you're a Sainz fan, you may be a little bit gutted, but I don't know if you can be. A 4th place finish is wonderful for Carlos Sainz. 5th place for Alonso. Gasly comes home in 6th. What an amazing day. If you're an Alpine fan, my goodness me, Alpine have come to the fore. They've come to the party, and they've stolen a lot of points this weekend. Vettel on the radio. Vettel saying he tried absolutely everything he could the whole race. So close to that P1. Saying sorry, Vettel apologising for a 2nd place finish. I don't think he needs to apologise. He did absolutely amazingly to get that car all the way around in 2nd place. Yes, you could argue Latifi did him a bit of a favour, but my goodness me, what a drive from those guys. Let's pop this up for you then. I don't even know where to begin. Who do you want to talk about first? We've got some absolutely phenomenal stories over the course of today. Remember, 70 laps ago, or 67 laps ago, we had a red flag incident that stopped the race. We had Bottas hitting into the back of Norris, taking Norris out of the race, taking Perez out of the race. We had Lance Stroll hitting into Leclerc on the first lap of the race, also hitting into one another. George Russell has just stopped on the pit lane entry, obviously having some form of issue, or maybe just can't get it home. Just too happy with that points finish in the Williams is Russell. Absolutely amazing stuff. Esteban Ocon hasn't come to the Parc Ferme. Hasn't. I think he's just doing another lap. Can't blame him. Goodness gracious me. All right, let me pop up the coloured one for you guys, because you deserve the high quality finishing positions for this. My goodness me. Esteban Ocon is the man, the myth, the legend who does it. Ocon, 1st place in an Alpine. Vettel, 2nd. My goodness me. Let's get your reactions in the chat then. Esteban Ocon fan running around in happiness, as you should be. As you should be. Esteban Ocon has done absolutely everything right today. An exceptional drive. You can't argue with that. He's just done a perfect drive in an Alpine from first place. He got the opportunity to go into first. Sebastian Vettel running down the pits as well. Goodness gracious me. Is anybody going to drive actually down the pit and park in front of their thing? Oh no, I'm out of focus. Hello. Hello. Wow. Nobody knows. Esteban Ocon running the length of the pit lane to get up to the podium. Goodness me. I love it. Absolutely love it. Super Seb. Absolutely phenomenal Seb. 2 podium finishes for Seb Vettel this year. 2 podium finishes. What an incredible thing. Driver of the day. Oh, yeah. Let's check in. Thank you, Blender, for the reminder. Driver of the day. Let's have a look at how we did on the community tab. 68% of people voted for Ocon, as you should. I think my vote's going to go for Ocon as well. Just a phenomenal drive. Wonderful to see it. Hamilton got 18%, Vettel 10%, Carlos Sainz and Latifi 2% each. I think they're worth talking about. I think Carlos Sainz had a very good drive indeed. I think Latifi had an incredible drive in the Williams there to get it into 8th place, but I don't think you can argue with Ocon being driver of the day at this point. Hamilton there. 3rd place for Hamilton. Can he be happy with that? Will he be frustrated? It's a mixed bag for Hamilton, this one. Should have easily won this race. Should have easily won this race, to be honest. But now, looking very, very precarious at the top of the Constructors and Drivers' Championships. Ocon, in and amongst the Alpine engineers. Can we even get him up to the podium? It's going to take him 45 minutes to get up to the podium. He's got to say thank you to everybody. And you can't blame him. His first win in Formula 1. And in an Alpine. In a midfield car. Alonso. Absolutely sensational stuff from him. Clapping Ocon along. Waiting for Ocon. He's going to be the man that you want to talk to. Did Ocon a favour, kept Hamilton behind him for as long as he possibly could. To be fair, Alonso did an exceptional job for the team there. Made sure that Hamilton was not going to be able to catch up to Vettel and Ocon, which, let's be honest, he would have done. Had he have gotten past Alonso 5 laps before, then it would have been a very different story at the end of this race for Seb and for Ocon. Wonderful stuff between the 2 drivers there. Fernando Alonso gives Ocon a well-deserved hug and a well-deserved handshake. Sebastian Vettel there in 2nd place. Looks a little bit dejected. Does Sebastian Vettel. Looks a little bit upset, but I don't think he can be. A sensational drive in the Aston Martin and gives an incredible drive from him as well in 2nd place. Where's Lewis Hamilton gone? Daniel Ricciardo there also comes to say well done to Esteban Ocon. Not sure why he's there, to be honest with you. All the way down in 12th. A long walk for Ricciardo up to the podium positions. Goodness gracious me. Ocon on the scales now. Gets to finally take his helmet off and get ready for the podium. Talking to Sebastian Vettel now. And he did try absolutely every single trick in the book, did Vettel. Tried to get past him when he was going past a back marker. Tried to get past him with DRS. Just couldn't really get it going for him, could he? There was no mistakes from Ocon. Absolutely no mistakes from Ocon whatsoever. And that's the thing. When the driver in front of you makes it as tricky as Ocon did, Seb has to be happy with that second place finish. You know, the Aston Martin, I don't think the Aston Martin was any quicker than the Alpine on the day. Very tricky. Seb being asked about turn 1. Say that he got a bad start, but he is correct. It was the best place for him to end up, because it was very, very tricky for him to... If he'd have been in front of Stroll, or if he'd have been in front of Carlos Sainz, where he should have been, you'd maybe say at Vettel at the start, it would have been a very different turn 1 for him, and possibly he'd have been out of the race as well. But instead, he now gets to stand on the podium, lifts a trophy for the second time in an Aston Martin. So close to that first ever win for Aston Martin. I think it is going to come for Sebastian Vettel. One more win is on the cards for him, isn't it? At some point over the next few years in his career. One more win for Seb would just be wonderful. But today you can't take it away from Esteban Ocon. A great, great drive. Lewis Hamilton comes over then. Oh, and he's got to be absolutely exhausted. He has put absolutely everything into that car today. He drags that car up the podium position. Wow. He must be, I don't know, he's a little bit annoyed, right? He's got to be a little bit frustrated with not winning the race, being in an easy first position and making the mistake to go onto the intermediate tyres. But then from there, did everything right, set fastest lap after fastest lap, came out of the pits on the hards in front of Ricciardo, and then from there it was just all forward all the time, wasn't it? You know, Ricciardo really had to go for it. Hamilton really had to go for it to get in front of Ricciardo in that way in the pit stops. And then he made it count on the harder compound tyre, then on the mediums at the end. Just had so much pace compared to everybody else, didn't he? And Hamilton saying that, you know, he'll learn from this mistake. He understands that Mercedes wouldn't have done it on purpose. They tried to go for something different. It's tricky when you're the first car on the track, isn't it? Because, you know, everybody else dipped into the pits. And it was just Hamilton left out on his own on the intermediate tyres. Have we ever seen a start to a race where there's literally just been one car? I'm not sure, you know. He's saying that he possibly thought it was going to continue raining. But it completely dried up, didn't it, for Lewis Hamilton? Very tough to take for him today. Very tough for him to take today. But, you know, he's going to have worse results in his career. He's going to have better results in his career. But at the same time, a wonderful drive from Lewis Hamilton. And exceptionally well put together for him. Esteban Ocon comes to the fore. The winner in Alpine. The French driver in the French car. The red, white and blue. Exceptional stuff. And getting a standing ovation from the crowd more than deserves it, to be honest with you. Drove incredibly well. Talking about doing incredibly well, thank you to everybody who's liked the stream and subscribed today. Wonderful, wonderful stuff in the chat throughout this race today. It's so amazing to do these races with you guys. I've been absolutely loving it this season. Gutted that we're actually going into a bit of a break, obviously, with the summer coming up. 3 weeks away from the track. We've also gone up like 20 subscribers during this race, which is phenomenal. Like, that's amazing, amazing stuff. I want to say thank you to all of you guys. And thank you for all of the support that I get from you guys as well. You genuinely make this just a pleasure every single time around. 87 likes we are currently on. If you haven't hit like, pop a like down. It doesn't help. It's completely free for you. Helps me and makes my day 100% better by just getting one more like. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Esteban Ocon then, our driver of the day in terms of our community tab chat, and also comes out as the #1 driver. Gets his first win in Formula One. The first win for the Alpine team. And I said Alpine looks quick. Both of them managed to qualify inside the top 10. And Ocon has just looked a different beast in the last 2 races, hasn't he? Got that change in Silverstone a new chassis for Ocon, and massive improvement from him. He's looked uncomfortable in the car since sort of Monaco. He's looked uncomfortable, but now he is fully back to where he should be and outperforming by a long, long way. Do I think Verstappen will be able to recover for the next race? Yeah, Verstappen will be fine. He'll be gutted that he took that damage. He'll be annoyed that obviously he missed out on the opportunity to battle for the win of the race. You're going to say, if Verstappen doesn't get involved in that collision, then Verstappen probably goes on to win this race because Hamilton makes the mistake on the tyres. It's probably Verstappen who, makes the best of that scenario. Got to remember that Verstappen was going into the first corner in second place. He'd made up the gap on Bottas. He'd got in front of Bottas. He'd done exceptionally well to get in front of Bottas. Pierre Gasly came on with the fastest lap. Wow. Oh, somebody said that in the chat. I'm sorry, Mallory. I missed that. Yeah, Pierre Gasly has just come up on the screen. Another point for AlphaTauri. They're going to need it because Alpine and Aston Martin have just made some big points up. Big points. 25 points for a win, remember, for Ocon in the Alpine. And then 18 as well for Vettel in the Aston Martin. In terms of the constructors, it's just flipped on its head. Absolutely. Even with Gasly and Yuki both finishing in the points in 6th and 7th, still a lot of points going to Ocon and Vettel today. Wonderful, wonderful stuff to see in terms of the drivers and constructors. Going to keep us on our toes moving into the second half of the season. Alonso got the driver of the day for the Formula One start. I didn't even put Alonso in just because I thought Carlos Sainz would have got a little bit more of a vote, but it was indeed Alonso who got driver of the day. I couldn't have known that Alonso was going to keep Hamilton behind for like 15 laps. Couldn't have known. I like that they've pushed the Alpine down the grid into the number 1 position. Wonderful to see that. Hamilton always gets booed. He's just going to have to get used to it at this point. Unfortunately, for all of the European races, there's a massive Max Verstappen contingent. And I don't agree with the booing in any way whatsoever. I think it's disgusting. It just doesn't need to happen, to be honest with you. But when you've got so many Max Verstappen fans there at all the European races, it's just the way that it's going to be. I'm sure Hamilton doesn't take it to heart. And as he said, he uses it to inspire him pushing forward and try and get ever faster still. Sebastian Vettel takes his place second on the podium. And here we go then. Esteban Ocon walks out onto the podium and steps onto the top step of the podium. Does a Usain Bolt. Haven't seen one of them in a while. Does a Usain Bolt on the top of the podium. Wonderful stuff. Here we go then. And the French national anthem, not one that we've heard in a while in Formula One, actually. The French national anthem for Ocon and for Alpine. Exceptional stuff. Sebastian Vettel takes his second podium of the season. Hamilton also will be happy to come away with a podium after what was looking like an awful, awful race for him when he came out on those intermediate tyres. It was looking like it was going to be very, very tough for Hamilton indeed. But he has been able to just about keep himself in contention and has picked up just enough points to go first in the Drivers' Championship going into the summer break. I think if you'd have offered Hamilton first in the Drivers' Championship going into the summer break, sort of 2 or 3 races ago, he'd absolutely have bit your hand off. So he has managed to do that. Some exceptional stuff. I do like the French national anthem. It's not a bad one. Not a bad one. I really don't like the UK national anthem. It is a really odd trophy in Hungary. But you know what? I don't think Esteban Ocon will care. He'll put that in a cabinet. He'll put that absolutely front and centre on the mantelpiece. And Alpine pick up the Constructors' Trophy. It's a lovely plate that they've got themselves there. Lovely plate. I like that Hungary go for like the pottery trophy. It's different. I don't think we're going to see it often. But you know what? It's one of those things. You get some crockery if you come to Hungary and you get a podium. He'll be very happy indeed. Hamilton looks exhausted. Hamilton looks like he's put absolutely every single ounce of energy that his body's ever got into this race today. He looks exhausted. Ocon and Vettel, they spray the champagne on one another. Hamilton and Vettel have shared enough podiums to know what it's like. But Esteban Ocon is absolutely elated at this point. The Alpine man, number one on the day. Feel bad for Max. Let's hope he can come back. Yeah, he was just unlucky. Really unlucky. You could argue the same for Norris, Perez. Bottas just took all those drivers out, and there was nothing that they could do. Verstappen did well, to be honest with you, to actually stick it out and go out, pick up a point. You never know, that point might come back to help him out towards the end of the season. If he wins the championship by a point, this will be the point that he's made up, you know. He went out there with a broken car. The underboard was absolutely shot to bits. Some of the side paneling, lots of the aero on that Red Bull was not what you'd like it to look like. But comes home with a point anyway. And you never know. That point might be the deciding factor. Esteban Ocon takes his step on the top of the podium. So does Sebastian Vettel. They're all edging towards one another, trying to get onto the top spot. Sebastian Vettel, what a gentleman, allows the Alpine engineer to take his spot on the top of the podium too. Esteban Ocon next to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton and Vettel just sort of look a little bit, meh, don't they? They're not really too bothered. They've been on enough podiums between them at this point. Esteban Ocon absolutely elated. Game changer for the second Mercedes seat, definitely. Bottas with another mistake, you'd say. Bottas with another non-points finish. I know that some of them haven't really been his fault. You look back at Monaco, not really his fault. You look back at Imola. Should he have been fighting with George Russell? No, but was the actual incident his fault? I don't think so. But again, it's another race for Bottas that has not gone well, and this one is definitely his fault. And I don't think this is what you want if you're Valtteri Bottas. Toto Wolff is going to be reflecting on this race for the next 3 weeks, and is going to be looking at that performance from Valtteri Bottas, and is not going to be very happy at all, is he? Overall, it's been a bad race for Bottas, a bad race for Bottas indeed, and could spell the end for him at Mercedes now. I don't think he's going to get that contract extension over the summer. Will he go back to Williams? Will he get the opportunity to go to Alfa Romeo? Possibly. I think that's about it in terms of where Bottas could go. Could spend the end for Bottas. Not going to lie. These are not the results I expected start of the race. Yeah, I don't think anybody had this as their race results before the race, to be honest with you. I would, it's going to be one of those things where like somebody mad somewhere put like £3 on this being the podium, and now they're a millionaire. It's going to be one of those news stories, isn't it? Like in a couple of days, we're going to have someone pop along and be like, oh yeah, I said Ocon to win, Vettel to get a podium, and Hamilton to come from the back to win a podium as well and get into third place. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, you bet on that, did you? How much did you put on that? Oh, you put a £5 on it. How much did you win? Oh, 4.2 million actually. Yeah, went my way, that one. Oh, good. Yeah, cheers, mate. Wow. Oh, the last French driver to win with a French engine was Alain Prost. So Ocon making history in the French car. Absolutely wonderful. That was an absolutely crazy race. That was an absolutely insane race. Let's run through the final standings for you guys, by the way. So, as you can see, Ocon won the race. An absolute roller coaster for Ocon. Managed to get himself into second place under the red flag. And then Hamilton made the mistake, got himself up into first. Looked like he was going to be overtaken by Vettel at numerous occasions over the course of the race, but managed to just about make it stick with Vettel in second place. Alonso did them an absolute peach of a job, by the way. If Hamilton wasn't stuck behind Alonso for that long, then Hamilton would have easily won this race, I think. If Hamilton would have got past Alonso 5-6 laps before, I think we'd be looking at Hamilton winning this race. But as it is, Vettel managed to get second, Hamilton in third, rounding out our podium positions. Carlos Sainz managed to just hold on to fourth place, was under a lot of pressure from Alonso. Got a little bit lucky himself, you could say, in that Alonso slowed down a lot when Hamilton caught up to the back of Alonso, and Alonso had to start defending. Alonso did finish up in fifth, which is still a phenomenal finish in an Alpine. Alonso has done exceptionally well today. It's going to be undershadowed, obviously, by Ocon winning the race, as it should do. But Alonso in fifth place, what a finish. Gasly in sixth place, Tsunoda seventh. Good points finishes for AlphaTauri. They made the best of a bad situation. Obviously, Gasly losing out on a lot of places at the start, and Tsunoda qualifying down in 16th. So they made very good out of a very bad weekend for them, unfortunately. But Gasly will be happy with sixth place, I think, and the fastest lap for Gasly. And Tsunoda will be happy to pick up some more points, even though it's not looking like he's going to catch Ocon anytime soon, with Ocon picking up 25 points in the Drivers' Championship, taking a hell of a lead in that midfield battle. Latifi comes home in 8th and Russell in 9th. Imagine if I'd have told you that Latifi was going to be the Williams driver to get more points this season than Russell. You'd have thought I was absolutely bonkers. But as it stands, moving halfway into the season, moving into the summer break, Latifi is the Williams driver that is going to go ahead in the Drivers' Championship of Russell. Both of them managed to pick up points, though, and both the Williams picking up points means that they go ahead of Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' Championship too, which is massive for Williams if they can keep 8th place in the Constructors' Championship. Verstappen comes home in 10th place. He'll be a little bit disappointed. Obviously, got involved in the collision on turn 1 with Bottas. Nothing he could really do. Lando Norris just came out of nowhere after Bottas hit into the back of him, and both Perez and Verstappen both miss out because of that. There's going to be lots of penalty points given out to Bottas, I would imagine, for that incident, as well as Stroll, who cost, obviously, Ricciardo as well. Ricciardo and Verstappen, even though they were involved with those crashes, managed to finish the race. Verstappen picking up a point in 10th. Raikkonen comes home in 11th. Getting used to seeing Raikkonen in 11th at this point. Does seem like he finishes there fairly often. Ricciardo comes home in 12th, but again, Ricciardo was really struggling, had lots of damage to that McLaren after that turn 1 incident. So, was tough for Ricciardo. And again, similar to Verstappen, a tough day. Kind of made the best of a bad situation, but wasn't able to really pick up any points in that McLaren, unfortunately, after Norris's teammate was also out. Mick Schumacher finishes up 13th. Great finish for a Haas there. Obviously, lots of drivers not finishing the race, helping Haas out quite a lot. But a good finish for Mick Schumacher in 13th. Looked like he could have picked up some points at one point, but that Haas car just so much slower than everybody else. It was never going to happen when he had to keep it in the points for 60-odd laps, was it? Mick Schumacher, unfortunate to miss out there. And Giovinazzi, the last of the drivers to finish in 14th. Mazepin, Norris, Bottas, Perez, Stroll and Leclerc all involved in incidents. Mazepin got taken out in the pit lane. Raikkonen actually collided with Mazepin in the pit lane and broke Mazepin's front right tyre, so that meant the end of the race for Mazepin. Norris, Bottas and Perez were involved in a collision into turn 1, and then Stroll and Leclerc, similar but a different collision, also down into turn 1 on the first lap of the race. So those 5 all out within the first lap of the race. Unfortunate for them. Norris, The first time he isn't going to pick up points in 15 races. And it wasn't his fault. It was Bottas who actually finishes just behind him in terms of the standings, although those can go any way around, right? Norris actually finished every single race in the points of the last 15, and that streak has now gone because Bottas just slammed into the back of him. And Perez, couldn't really get out of the way either. Again, Perez knocks into Bottas, tries to get out of the way of Gasly. Perez actually does Gasly a real big favour and manages to steer away from the Alpha Tauri. So Gasly could have easily been involved in that incident into turn 1 as well. Very, very tricky for them. And then Stroll came into turn 1, was flying through the grid, managed to get in front of Vettel off of the start. But yeah, Stroll hits Leclerc into turn 1. And then now showing a replay of it. Stroll just hits Leclerc. Nothing Leclerc can do. Also hits Ricciardo. Nothing Ricciardo can do. But absolute mess down into turn 1. Gasly does really well to get out of it and keep himself going. Leclerc, Stroll, all in collide with one another. Ricciardo's involved in that. And it's just the sneaky little Williamses managed to, and the Alpines, you could say, Alpines and Williamses managed to just keep themselves out of danger and get themselves into there. Let's have a look then. It is so upsetting for Russell, right? Russell finally scores points for Williams. Latifi scores even more points. Latifi finishes just in front of Russell. Russell did say he would do anything he could to help out and make sure that Latifi finished as high as possible. But yeah, the pace just really wasn't there for the Williams car. I think we've still shown that this track really doesn't suit Williams, and it's the one that they managed to pick up points. So both Williams in the points. Latifi gets them. Danny Ricciardo did struggle massively. He did indeed. Just joined the stream. Thank you so much. Lorem? Eorem? I never know whether that's an I or an L. But we'll go for Lorem. Possibly. Thank you for joining the stream. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I don't know what we're on likes. We could be heading towards the 80 mark. That was what I was hoping for by the end. We're on 93 likes, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't hit like, just do it. We could hit 100 likes for what has been the best stream, the best race of the season so far. And we're going to need a summer break now to just cool down a little bit, to get ourselves ready for the second half of the season, because Hungary has come and absolutely slammed it out of the park. Baku, you thought was entertaining. Hungaroring has just come in and absolutely smashed it to pieces. What a wonderful, wonderful race it was indeed. I think this is the first time Latifi has scored points in F1. It is indeed. And it's been a very long time since Williams have scored points too. So they will be very, very happy with both drivers picking up. Bottas got a 5-place grid penalty for the next race. I mean, there's a lot coming for Bottas, unfortunately. Lots and lots of penalties coming for Bottas. Similar for Stroll. I think Bottas is going to be, really struggling to actually get on the grid for Spa. He's going to pick up lots of penalty points, lots of grid drop, I'd imagine. Going to be very tough for him indeed. Sad for Alpha, starting 13th and 14th. Yeah, it didn't go well for Alpha at all, did it? They looked like they were going to have a good race. Qualified fairly well yesterday, both Alfa Romeos. But yeah, just didn't go for them. Obviously, Raikkonen picking up a 10-second penalty, Giovinazzi picking up a 10-second penalty. And then from there, it was always going to be very, very hard for them to catch up to the rest of the pack and look like they could have won anything. Imagine Bottas wins at Spa next time out. He's going to have to do so from miles back. He's going to have to do so. I imagine he's going to pick up quite a few penalties, Bottas moving into Spa. So can't imagine that he's going to be winning that race. Surely Hamilton's luck cannot continue. Was he that lucky today? I'd say he drove incredibly well. Yeah, he was probably... he was quite lucky to not be involved in the incident into turn 1, but it's only because he was in first place, so you could argue, qualifying first finally pays off for Hamilton there. Thank God the Premier League is starting soon to keep us entertained in the F1 summer break. I'm going to need something to keep me going in this F1 summer break. Can't believe that they're going to put an absolute incredible race together for us this weekend. And then they're going to be like, actually, no. Now we're going to have a little bit of a wait for the summer break. And we'll come back at Spa in a few weeks' time. I need more Formula One injected into my veins as soon as possible. I need it. Need it. My goodness me. Wonderful, wonderful stuff, though. I'm going to end the stream there. Oh, my goodness me. What a race we have seen. Just to run down again. Ocon, Vettel, Hamilton, Sainz, Alonso are our top 5. Gasly 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Latifi and Russell, both Williamses in the points, 8th and 9th. Verstappen rounds out the points in 10th. Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher and Giovinazzi, the next 4 and the last 4 to finish, because Mazepin, Norris, Bottas, Perez, Stroll and Leclerc all got knocked out. Just a massive collision down into turn 1 caused by Bottas, an equally quite big collision caused by Stroll down into turn 1, and then Mazepin unlucky to get knocked in the pit lane by Kimi Raikkonen, ending his race too. So there we are, guys. Wonderful, wonderful to talk to you guys. Wonderful to spend the race with you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are absolutely storming towards 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all so, so much. There will be a race review and lots of videos coming over the summer break as well. Obviously, because there are no live streams over the next few weeks. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful race. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, subscribe, like, do your thing. I will see you live for Spa in what, 3-4 weeks time. I don't want to wait that long. But unfortunately that is the wait that we've got. Lots of Twitch streams happening as well. If you want to go over and follow my Twitch, I'm trying to get towards 150 followers on Twitch, so make sure that you follow the link in the description and get involved on the Twitch channel as well. We're going to be playing Formula 1 and FIFA and Dark Souls and basically whatever I fancy playing on the day whenever I just decide to go live on Twitch. There's no real rhyme or reason to it, so make sure you follow so you know when we are live over there. Thank you again so, so much, and I will see you in Spa for the next race.